Blinded by the light, wrapped up like a deuce, another runner in the night. Blinded by the light, wrapped up like a deuce, another runner in the night. Blinded by the light, wrapped up like a deuce. Madman drummers, bummers, Indians in the summer with the teenage diplomat. In the dumps with the mumps as the adolescent bumps his way into his hair. With a bowler on my shoulder, feeling kind of older, I trip the merry-go-round. With his very unpleasing sneezing and wheezing, the calliope crashed to the ground. The calliope crashed to the ground. Oh, she was blinded by the lights, wrapped up like a deuce, another runner in the night. Blinded by the light, wrapped up like a deuce, another runner in the night. Blinded by the light, wrapped up like a deuce, another runner in the night. Blinded by the light, wrapped up like a deuce, another. Some silicone sister with the manager, mister, told me I got what it takes. She said I'll turn you one sun into something strong, play the song with the funky break. And go-kart Mozart was checking out the weather chart, see if it was safe outside. And little early birdie came by in his curly whirly and asked me if I needed a ride. Asked me if I needed a ride. Well, she was blinded by the lights, wrapped up like a deuce, another runner in the night. Blinded by the light, she got down, but she never got tight. She's gonna make it to the night. She's gonna make it through the night. deuce, another runner in the night, blinded by the light. Wrapped up like a deuce, another runner in the night, blinded by the light. Wrapped up like a deuce, another runner in the night, in the dark through the months as the adolescent pumps his way to his night. With a border on my shoulder, feeling kinda older, I track merry-go-round. With his fiery and pleasing, sneezing and wheezing, the life he crashed to the ground. Now scarred with a slingshot line, they found a tender spot, rolled over his head.
I'm cutting that short only because it's going on too long. I chose the wrong file. So I want to welcome first in from Unmuzzled Chat. I got James, and from Beyond the Box, I have Bree and Susie. Where did she go? Susie's not here yet, but here we are. I wanted to bring together the podcasters that are here today because right now we're bringing on the candidates. So I wanted to thank the podcasters first for joining us on this mission for New Hampshire. Here come the guests. Say hi, James and Bree.
Thanks for having us, Mark. It is a pleasure. Anything we could do to help further this mission.
We got to get it going on, right, Bree?
Today.
Yeah. Yes. Thank you for having me.
Here we are. So I'm bringing on everybody. I have, let's see here. First I'm going to bring on Ed LaPlante. I have got John Kuiper. Oh, Susie joined us.
We know.
I have Bobby along with Sean Fife. And we got Frank there. Did Frank join too?
Yes, sir. Frank is here too. I'm here. I made it.
And now we have Karen Testerman. This is
Can you hear Frank clearly? You have good audio on Frank's side?
Frank.
Check.
Frank sounds excellent. Wonderful.
So
thanks everybody for coming here, and thanks for Unmuzzled Chat and Beyond the Box for joining, helping, pushing out this message.
100%.
We've got a great show here today. We've got a lot of candidates and some of other influential people like Karen from New Hampshire. We want to push a certain message here today, and I wanted to allow Sean Fife to lead us in on this journey here tonight. Please, Sean.
Thanks for giving me a chance to say this. And thank you to everybody behind the scenes to put this together. All the guests that came in made this a thing. It was off the last minute deal, and I appreciate all you coming. So here we go. This is what I wrote up, and like I said, it's on a short notice. So, hello, my name is Sean Fife, son of Stephen Allen Fife, son of Clifford Fife of New Hampshire. I swear before everybody attending, listening, watching, and God Almighty himself, every word I say here is nothing but the truth. This podcast meeting is for all of us candidates that do not have strings attached, to the best of my knowledge. Chosen Kingdom is the podcast you are seeing with the help of Magi. Chosen Kingdom is built by Mark, a very special man from New Jersey who possesses knowledge, the tools, the desire to create the vision, which this event is a product of. Mark is the co-creator who I give most of the credit to in regards to creating this podcast. We call him Chosen One. And he's our host tonight. I claim all responsibility for the cast present in this production and everything leading to this point in regards to this no strings attached episode of Chosen Kingdom. From here forward, every man will speak for themselves and be held accountable for their own actions and for their words to come out of their mouths to be honest, completely true, and nothing but the truth. If you're watching, thank you, and God bless you. This 2024 September 10 primary election, New Hampshire needs somebody to save it. On the show tonight, you will meet every man capable of doing that with no strings attached. It's up to the voters to decide which one of us that will be. Tonight's episode of Chosen Kingdom's sole purpose is to provide information to the voters and to every candidate. This show will be a conglomerate of what we stand for, what our goals are, what our vision is, and how we plan to achieve that. The show cannot be long enough to be deeply insightful about all of that. Every word out of our mouths will be the truth, nothing but the truth. So help us God. I pray this message reach New Hampshire voters in time to save the Granite State from corruption that is otherwise will be installed again. Before we begin, I would like anybody on this show to, everybody on this show, to confirm that what I stated is in fact what we are doing. And you can do that now.
Yes, I'm only going to speak the truth.
Amen.
Yeah, of course, all the time, right?
Okay.
It's the only way to speak. Truthful, from the heart, all the time.
Thank you for your confirmations. Now, with no further ado, this is Bobby,
Always tell the truth.
and he's going to speak first.
Oh, my first? Okay, well, at first, we were at the courthouse in Merrimack County Courthouse last 2 days ago. And we were like, why don't we all get together and just discuss a bunch of ideas that are good for the whole entire state that we all have? Because obviously, if we're running for a position that can manage the whole state's energy flow, we all got good ideas having to do with it. So I was like, might as well get together and hash some things out, talk some ideas, and see what we can't sync up. So that being said, when I look towards the future of the state, I look for ease of people. I look for mental health. I look towards directions that can help that in a way that goes from the ground up or the core outward. And I look towards entrepreneurial things that can kickstart the people that need it hard. And when I think about the way I want to move the whole state, I think about I want to test all the waters. I want to see what's in everybody's drinking water. I want more springs. I mean, there's only 5 springs in the whole entire state, and we have these gorgeous white mountains that you can go fill up a water bottle at. And I feel like there should be prevalent all around the state. And I know that a lot of people want to argue about, the border and LGBTQ and this, that, and the other thing, which obviously I care about the border, and what it comes down to is talking to National Guard, getting them together with the law enforcement agencies and seeing what they can figure out, because it's their job to do that, but overseeing it properly, and then working with Donald Trump and, well, whoever's going to be president, and obviously the border patrol people from the north, which we have small border up there, but we got 2 big ass states beside us. So if we're on top of our stuff, we're going to vibrate energy to these guys, and they're going to get on top of their stuff too. So it really matters where we're pointing and what we're looking at. But to the core, I want to get down to health reasons, because I mean, when we went through that pandemic, what we saw was people believing that health is going and getting injections and taking pills and things, when it's really walking barefoot in the grass, drinking fresh water, and eating healthy. But nothing like that was talked about by any of our people in our state, in our government, and that's a huge problem to me. And then when you really look down to what's going on, you see that somebody and something allowed massive amounts of gorgeous brand new liquor stores to be built all over our state and literally poison our people at the core of who they are. And you're telling me I can't smoke a little bit of green grass without getting in trouble, but people can drink and drive all over the place? You telling me I can't go hike the gorgeous mountains of New Hampshire with a little microdose of fungi without getting in trouble? Now, that's not a big priority to some people, but I do a lot of flag waving in Manchester, and I'm looking on the ground and I see needles everywhere, and I go, these people shouldn't be numbing their bodies with needles. They should be loving them and figuring out what's going on. But there's nobody to mentor this into position properly. And
Bobby,
that's a big thing.
Bobby,
what we got going on.
how long have you been running, and what made you run for it? I think maybe everybody should just get a quick background on each of you as you introduce yourself. So Bobby, What made you decide to run for the governor?
Well, I grew up, 3 uncles, both sides, grandfather, dad, military, everybody telling me about politics growing up, everybody telling me how this is happening, that's happening, and obviously I'm being mentored by all these people. And as I grew up, I started working in different shops along the way, and turns out I was working with some pretty good patriots throughout the way that have been teaching me and pointing me in the right direction where I could find myself mostly, and then find how to help. So what I've been doing is, over the last 5, 6, 7 years, since COVID hit, is literally going around and meeting people and figuring out what's going on with the people. And turns out a lot of people have the same ideas, and we just need to put them together and get some traction, and most importantly, get some funding so we can buy materials, so we can build custom stuff to get us into the right direction as fast as possible, as safe as possible. Because I'm finding out the people that are running the state don't have ideas that can do that. And the ideas that they do have, they're paying for, and they're paying way too much money for it.
Yep. Great. Frank, do you want to go next? And then maybe we'll move out to the rest of the panel and then, come back to Sean.
Sure. So I'm Frank Staples, and I was not planning on running, but many of you may know about the YDC, Sununu Youth Center abuse scandal. And for the past 2 years, me and some of the victims have been holding rallies, and we delivered a petition to the feds for an investigation. And my goal with this has been to make this topic a critical election issue. And then when Ayotte started to run, and it turned out that she was implicated in this decades-long cover-up, I decided to run to shine some light on that. But I also have all kinds of policies, state sovereignty, a border patrol unit, gold-backed currency, and New Hampshire energy independence, getting rid of some of the zoning and stuff like that. So I have a lot of policies in that regard, but the real thing that got me going was the whole YDC case.
Great. Ed, you want to go? Oh wait, Ed, I took you out instead of making you the first one. I'm getting
No
ready.
big deal.
Hey, Ed.
Hey, I'm at the plant. So I was in the Marine Corps for 8 years, and while I was in the Marine Corps, I got full custody of my son. So from 99 to 2007, I was in Iraq, Iran. I went to 18 different countries, all kinds of different things. And
I thought we just.
so, well, the first week I got custody of my son, he broke his leg on a 4-wheeler accident. So I worked as a garage as an auto mechanic for 40 years. And well, when he broke his leg, I had to get a second job at Walmart, which was kind of blessing in disguise. So 60 hours at the garage, 37 hours a week at Walmart. But at least I got to talk to a lot of college kids, a lot of women, elderly women on fixed incomes. So I got to hear their point of views and their gripes. And while I was listening to them, I learned that Congress, 98% of Congress has never had a blue-collar job. And my thought was, well, how can they represent you when they don't know you? They don't know who you are. So after a while, I listened to a lot of people, and everybody kept on saying, hey, you should run, because I listen to people. And I asked them, what do they think they could do? I think that most people that come to you with a problem, they've already heard different ways of solution, ways to fix it. So my thing is, I always ask them, well, what do you think we should do? Then I hear their point of view. Then someone else will chime in. Hey, if we do A, B, and C, then somebody else will add something else. So basically, that's it. And a couple of years ago, I formed the Constitution Party, New Hampshire, because I noticed both sides aren't obeying the Constitution. Executive orders, and they seem to forget that the main function of government is to protect the people, not to rule them. And that's what's going on. So basically, that's the gist of it.
Great. Thanks, Ed. Hey, John, welcome. John, I'll just say before John speaks, he's the standout here. He is the Democrat who's joined us. And, up next, I'm going to have Karen Testament speak. But I think all of us coming here, we really have to thank John for coming and joining us, because this is about the people coming together, because ultimately, whoever wins this is going to lead everyone in New Hampshire. And so it's important that we hear everyone's voices and we respect everyone's voices. And part of, I think, why we're all here today is because there isn't a lot of respect for the people who are outside of the mainstream of both parties. As far as the media goes, the amount of attention that each of the people here tonight are getting is lackluster in compared to their peers. And so John, go ahead. I don't mean to take your time.
You're good.
Thanks for coming.
So yeah, thanks for everyone that put this on. So I have lived in New Hampshire my whole life. I've been running a restaurant in Newmarket called Johnny Botson's International since 2015. And basically the rabbit hole that led me to run for governor was that when I bought my building in 2016, our end of town really doesn't have a lot of parking. And so I thought I'd get involved with town politics, try to figure out if I could, find some money to build a parking garage or something, because we redid the mills in Newmarket a number of years ago. And so we've got a lot more restaurants than we had before, but they really didn't make a plan for parking. And long story short, after being on the ZBA and a few other committees in town and the town council, I came to realize that there was no money for parking because of the way that the state funds our schools. So 75% of all of our property taxes go to fund the schools. And if you dig into that, you will learn that the richest towns in New Hampshire pay the least amount of money towards public education, and the poorest towns, or poorer towns like Newmarket, pay the largest amount if you look at it in comparing average incomes. So that was kind of the first red flag. Well, there's a number of red flags that I've sort of found about the state of New Hampshire, the way that we operate, that are frankly, not that helpful for my business. For instance, we got no money for parking, like I said, so my business is sort of limited in how much capacity we can do. And then the other problem that I've been running into is, as you all know, with inflation, the leading cause of inflation is housing. My employees can't find affordable housing, so they're leaving the state. My customers are leaving the state. And I myself am still in a position where I cannot buy a house. I live in an apartment above my restaurant. I do own the building, so I am a homeowner, but it's a small apartment, and I'd like to have more kids. And I frankly cannot do that in New Hampshire because there are no houses within a reasonable amount of driving time from my work. And then the biggest reason that finally set me off to run for governor was, well, it's only $100 to get in the ballot, as you guys know. But the other thing is that I realized that because our state senators and state representatives are only paid $100 a year, I could not really afford to do that job. And when I dug into it, I learned that 80% of all of our state reps and senators are either rich or retired, which explains why they do not care about a lot of the issues of working class people, because there's no working class people up there. And frankly, the ones that are up there don't last very long, because it's very hard to work a job and try to drive to Concord 6 months for, three times a week for 6 months. So one of my biggest goals has been to make sure that the candidates were talking about housing and that they had real concrete plans for housing. And then the other one being that we get into this conversation about the fact that when we do not pay our state reps, the result is it's not really democracy, because working class people cannot participate. So I don't think the politicians, the state reps, should necessarily make millions of dollars or anything. I think a $500 a week stipend during the session, which would be, be less than 10 grand, would allow people like me and stay-at-home moms, people working in various industries would be able to do that job. And I think basically, if we had real democracy in New Hampshire, a lot of these issues that are put on the back burner by the wealthy would be front and center. Thank you. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, John. So, like I said, we're going to bring on Karen Testament next, look, she has such a nice background. Karen, welcome. You stand outside of everyone else who's actually on the panel today, in that you're not running. However, you have spent a lot of time in the political scene in New Hampshire, and I've been lucky enough to have you around and hear your story about what went on recently in New Hampshire. And I think it leads to a good sort of, I'm putting you on the spot, but sort of a stepping ground for where these folks are all going to go off on their conversation after this, after I bring everybody back into the screen, about what's going on and how the process itself is working in New Hampshire, and why it's so important that we change the governorship right now in order to spearhead, taking back over New Hampshire and saving New Hampshire. So go ahead, Karen.
Thanks, Mark. It's great to be with you again. So I'm the non-candidate because until we fix the election integrity in this state, it's not going to do, or any of the states, quite honestly, but particularly here in New Hampshire, it's not going to do anybody any good to run, because it's all planned ahead of time. The outcome is planned. The fact that we have machines that have been supposedly there temporarily is not, they should have been gone a long time ago. They've been in place now for 40 years. The lack of integrity when it comes to validating our mail-in ballots, when you ask for a ballot because you're not going to be in town, has been compromised, because constitutionally we didn't go in and change the requirements to obtain those ballots. The Constitution says you can get a ballot for you're not being in place in the state, or you physically are medically unable to be at the polls in person. But the legislature has gone outside of the Constitution and designated many other possibilities. So that's another area where we've got a problem. There's no affidavit that says that this is the person that actually filled out that ballot. So there's ballot stuffing going on. There's, when it comes down to actually informing the workers, the moderators, the ballot workers and so forth like that, the Secretary of State's written a guideline for that, and it says that it isn't the law, but yet we don't inform the people on what the law actually says. So I'm involved right now in a case in which we came to the courts and said, look, if nothing else, take the undeclared and same-day registrations, somehow mark them, and you can do that, and set them, go ahead and count them, but then have them set aside so that if you come back from the court and tell us that these RSAs are being interpreted improperly, we can now either remove them or continue to certify them as legitimate votes in the primary. And we started this back before the presidential primary in January of this year. We're still fighting it now. I have a hearing next Friday, September 6th at 11 o'clock at the federal court, where they will rule on our third emergency injunction, to set aside those ballots. And we'll see what they actually do. I believe that the courts at this point are just playing the clock, running the clock out in so many words. And so while we probably will not come back with a positive outcome this Friday, we're still fighting for it, because we still have to notify it. And it's interesting because you have Dan Richard, you have Lynn Briggs and Wayne Saya, and you have myself, who are basically whistleblowers on the election process, saying that something is wrong here. We need to hold the Secretary of State and the other actors, chairman of the state party and so forth. We need to hold those people accountable and make sure that they're following the law. They say they're supposed to be, that's what their primary job is, but we want them to actually follow the law. And primarily, one of the reasons that I ran for governor in the past is because I felt that New Hampshire was so unique that anyone could try their ideas, they don't have to have a big bankroll. Because when I first came to New Hampshire, that was one of the things that was touted about it, is we were a cheap date, so to speak, because it didn't take a lot of money to get your ideas across. You could go in and go door to door knocking with people and get a platform where you could have express your ideas. But what I've learned is so many people, even many of our legislators, know what the Constitution that states our Bill of Rights, 39 points, by the way, that actually know what it is. Most of them haven't even read it, and yet they swear an oath that they're going to uphold it. And the state constitution is what came together, the 13 states came together to make the US Constitution. So we should be at the local level being able to say what needs to go on, and it shouldn't be top down. Right now, it's state down, it's nation down, but it's not the people who are able to say what's going on. So until we fix some of those things, until people get totally educated on the state constitution, what their Bill of Rights actually says, then we're just fighting amongst ourselves in so many ways.
Great. Thanks, Karen. I'm going to bring everyone back in here now. And Sean, how about you? You're up next. And then, Sean, if you could, please take us off into this next period where we're going to keep everyone on the screen. And, you know, as somebody wants to speak up into it. You know, this is going to be sort of an open forum for the rest of it. And just everybody, please be respectful of everyone else's voice and time. Thanks. Oh, wait, hold on, Sean. Hold on. I got you muted. Now I got you unmuted.
Can you hear me now?
Now we can.
Okay. So, like I said, I'm Sean Fife. I'm running for governor. I live in the Belknap County now. I just moved there a year and a half ago. I was always domiciled, for all intents and purposes, in the Merrimack County. I had to move. Things weren't going right for me there. The politicians weren't working for me. The courts weren't working for me. They actually worked against me, and that I have to appeal it. And it cost me my home. It cost me a lot more than my home, but I'm not going to get into all that. But I decided to run for governor because I didn't see anybody fixing this for everybody. They've made it so anything that works is illegal. And that's kind of my MO, is to change it so you can actually make it in New Hampshire without having to get something from somewhere that was taken from somebody else. You should be able to get it yourself. And so something as simple as going fishing, I can't even do that. Hunting, I can't do that. There's, for all my reasons, just trust me, I can't do these things with the way that things are going. And those are basic things that you should be able to do. It's biblical. And these are simple rights that everybody should be able to just go hunt or fish as far as for subsistence and nothing else. But you've got all the people with their head down on a flat screen, and they're disconnected from the world the way that it is. And getting people out there to connect with nature again is one of the ways to preserve society. It's the backbone to it in certain ways. And so there's just one thing after another. This is just for instance. I'm for New Hampshire natural. You should be able to enjoy it, have it without having to pay. Also, as far as New Hampshire natural goes, I'm against modifying humans' DNA. It should be illegal. It's a crime against humanity in my mind. Other things that I'm having a problem with are 15-minute cities, sanctuary cities, and all these things coming to us, like like Karen said, from the top down, they're kind of being pushed on us because we keep taking things from the federal government. You know, we give them a third of our money, they give a third of it back, and with strings. So I want to figure out how to cut as many of those strings as possible. Just keep the money at home instead of taxing it through, and do the things right ourselves for ourselves, and kind of set an example for the rest of the country is what I'm looking to do. All the standard issues like safe borders, I'm there, but who's speaking up for stopping the cloud seeding? You know, it's poison. They're dumping it in our sky. It should be illegal. And every time legislation comes through, it gets voted down by just a little, and it doesn't make it. And it's killing people. It's causing cancer. And that wastes space in hospital and increases the cost of health care. It's a chain effect. Just things aren't being done in a healthy manner here. And so one of my goals is to make things successfully healthy for the future, for now, and you know, for generations to come is the main goal. It can't be a temporary fix. And so we need power. And everybody talks about how long it would take to get your money back on a set of solar panels for how much power they produce. But what you got to look at is what happens when you have the power produced at home and you have all the lines go down. You still have power at home. It's worth more than it costs. And that's the bottom line. It will save lives as people produce power at home. So it doesn't have to be a solar panel, but I want people producing power at home one way or another, as many places as possible, instead of getting it from some big production plant somewhere that's got you know, big strings attached to it and donors involved and all this corruption that comes with those types of projects, like these offshore windmills that they're trying to stuff down our throats that are not supposed to be in our fisheries. They're horrible. And I mean, I'm for wind power, just on a small scale. Like if you get a blade longer than 10 feet, I think you're out of control. And if, you have limits to things. You don't just get rid of them completely. But geothermal is a great option. And I could talk about alternative energy till my head pops, because I used to race solar cars back till 2004 when I was the president of the SEV club at Concord and HDI. So with that being said, I'm going to move on to what we're actually, I'm hoping we're going to lean towards here, is there's a real common pattern that one election after another, only certain people get limelight. And so being part of this season has given me insight into that, experiencing it myself. And one of the cases that we've been documenting heavily is the way it's been happening to Frank. It happens to Frank on a level where he gets kicked out for doing things to stand up for himself where nobody else is. The government's not going to do it. The GOP is not going to do it. They set this thing up and they're the problem themselves.
It's my right.
And it is his right. So I would like to concentrate on the situations that Frank has been in. I'd like to have him tell the storyline because he knows it best firsthand. And I'm not saying he's the only one of us. I'm saying he's one of us that we can document and we have proof and we can prove the case. So I'd like to move forward with making, with him forcing the GOP to have an event where all the candidates are invited at least once for this campaign season before the primary. And I'd like to hand off to you so you can talk about this piece of paper in front of us.
So yeah, so this one is a little different. I already did file a complaint about both of us being excluded from what was billed as a GOP event. And I haven't made it in a single poll, right? Sean's at least, both Bobby, Sean, everybody's made it into at least one poll but me through this election cycle. And you know, they're hosting these events and claiming that Chuck Morse is there and he's all by himself and nobody else showed up when they're not inviting any of the other candidates. There doesn't seem to be a genuine, you know, concern to, you know, let the voters decide what each people does, what each people that they're looking at has to say, and then judge for themselves. And so I did ask for a event at Reps Hall, which, you know, it's got it's wired for sound. It can hold over 400 people. and I think all the candidates should be there. And I don't know why these, well, I do know why the GOP in particular is holding these events and excluding certain candidates, is because they want to select their favorite person and protect all their interests. So this thing that I have here that I also just filed with the elections board and the Secretary of State is in regard to Kelly Ayotte and getting her removed from the ballot, because she's made a lot of misleading and false claims about endorsements, that she's being endorsed by entire newspapers. She's not clarifying that it's the editorial board. She also just claimed that 4 county sheriffs just endorsed her. That's not allowed. You're not allowed to endorse from your official position. There's all these county commissioners, treasurers. There's over 20 people that she's claiming have endorsed her, but then there's no record of these endorsements anywhere either. And so it's totally misleading. I already had this thing written, and then I had to rewrite it because I believe it was Saturday, Kevin Landergan came out with a report that Kelly Ayotte had to retract. She had false ads running against Joyce, what was it, Joyce Craig, right? Mm-hmm. And so this is a serious issue, and it's a pattern throughout her campaign. And this is available. It's false advertising and misrepresentation of endorsements from Kelly's campaign. And I'm hoping that other people, even just voters, I can email it to you, a copy, and you can print it off, or you can email it on your own name. And the more of us that do it, the bigger chance we have to get Kelly Ayotte, because she is the biggest threat. I'm going to agree with the Democrats that she is the biggest threat to New Hampshire. She's coming in, batting cleanup, to try to protect the whole YDC thing. And look at the boards, all the boards she's on. She makes millions of dollars a year.
Blackstone.
Yeah.
People say BlackRock. I haven't seen that evidence.
Blackstone. It's Blackstone, which is it's a subsidiary or something like that. But the Blackstone, BAE Systems. So here's the thing. BAE Systems, this is another thing that we need to understand about Kelly Ayotte. They talk about Blackstone and the housing and the rent stuff making the prices go up. That's true. And her rebuttal is that it's inflation, which is also true. That's also making the price, the cost of housing go up, correct? But what else is part of inflation? All the money printing for all the wars that are being, that money that gets printed and sent overseas then gets used to buy through BAE Systems and all this 1,800 subcontractors and contractors in the state of New Hampshire, okay, that she's involved with. BAE, you can't find exactly what she gets and how much she makes from that position at BAE. They took down the section of Kelly Ayotte from their webpage. There's zero transparency as far as what agreements she has and what's really going on here. So the money printing from these foreign wars it's critical for people to understand that this is the cause of inflation, which is another reason why I'm suggesting we go to a gold and silver standard currency. And then New Hampshire can benefit from any inflation that happens if we're using a gold standard, right? So
Hey Frank,
yeah.
I'm just looking online while you're saying what you're saying, and all the polls I'm coming across are showing basically all you guys at nothing or not even involved in the picture. John probably gets the best shake out of everyone who's here.
They usually write other, and so people will pick a name just because it's in front of them, I believe. And some people just can't stomach either name, so they'll pick other, but they don't give credit to any person that other represents. So they just count us at zero. I just started pushing a little bit ago.
And for the audience, this is our third time doing a show on New Hampshire.
Let's let Edmund say what he's got there. Could we?
What's that? Yeah,
Edmund's
Ed,
got something.
just unmute yourself, Ed.
To
There you
Frank's
go.
point, you may not know, I ran for United States Senate a couple of years ago with General Bodoc and all them guys. And like I said, I was an auto mechanic, no experience whatsoever. And when I went in, you guys all know Granite Rock from New Hampshire. Well, they had a poll. Who's the United States, your pick for United States Senate? I came in second. General Bulldog came in first. I doubled what Kevin Smith had. He came in third. Chuck Morris came in fifth. And they had another one, Rhino Hunter. I came in third in that one. Now, I was not allowed to debate on any televised event. And when I asked why, each time I was told because I didn't reach the threshold of $500,000. That was the anti-purse. When I explained to him, I didn't meet the threshold because I don't take donations. I felt if I took donations, I'd be beholden to somebody. And to Frank's point, and that's probably why you're not allowed on any debates or you're not listed as other, because you don't have the $500,000 per. I know it sounds bad, but that's actually how it is. And to Karen's point, also, and Frank, what you were saying about Kelly Ayotte's endorsements, like I said, when I was Republican, I was under the impression, it probably still is this way, that you supposed to give out, an official's not supposed to give out an endorsement until after the primary. So for what she's doing, I still believe that's wrong, according to Robert's Rules of Orders that the Republicans used. And honestly, that's why I left the Republican Party and started the Constitution Party 2 years ago, because I was like, this is wrong. This is so wrong. So with that, I just wanted to tell you, make a point to Frank's point that this could be the reason why.
And to your point, Ed, I've been inviting both Republican candidates who are in the lead on the show multiple times. We've actually had multiple interactions with them where they didn't interact with me, but they interacted with Sean. They interacted with who else, Sean? They interacted with a number of us, right? Yep.
But the bottom line is speaking to them in person. When we invite them, they say yes. They defer you off to their campaign manager, and they might humble you, like take a card or something, but you don't ever get a call. That's the end of it. Every time you see them, you follow up on it. They just never come. They just say they will.
If it's not televised, they're not coming. I can guarantee you. If it's not televised, no way.
And now my question is, if you're the leader, shouldn't you be brave enough to take on all challengers in person?
Do you think? In a real world, in a world that makes sense, where the people have to say yes. But
Karen, whoops, sorry, Karen, you got to unmute. You want me to?
So
let me unmute everybody. Yep.
So it's very interesting because this is typical of what they do. When I ran the last time, we did have a televised debate, but of course, Mr. Sununu was too good to show up. And of course, since he knew he had everything in the back already set up so that he was going to be the winner no matter what, the interesting thing is that then of course you wouldn't show up, right? Why should you show up if you know you're already going to have everything in the bag? But they didn't even give an opportunity. And so it's interesting to me because technically, if you have 5 write-in votes, you're supposed to actually publish those. Those have never been published. And I know I've had more than the required number of votes. The other interesting thing I found was I ran in 2010. I got 10% of the vote as basically an unknown candidate, right? I ran again in 2020, and I ran again in 2020, or 2022. Both times, I got 10% of the vote. That makes no sense when you have built your name recognition over the years. And in the last election, I was actually promoted by the Resolve, which was all over the state. So I know we had the votes, but they were never really honestly published because we've got algorithms going into Papa Sununu's machines that he actually promoted, and that's why we have them. And so, you know, when you go back and you start uncovering all of the layers of deception, then you start to find out things. And, you know, quite honestly, to Frank's point too, Frank has already established that he has a right, that we all have a right when we're in court to be able to videotape, to audio tape, for transparency. Because if you go for whether or not the records, the court records are public or not, you'll find out that according to New Hampshire's laws, the court records belong to the people. So why can't we go in and videotape a proceeding? And yet the officials will all come out and say, oh, well, we say that you can only have one person who has registered to videotape this. And so they removed Frank whenever it was, 2 days ago. That was just a travesty. And yet we can't, this is going on at every level. And you can even find this. So in my particular case the other day, we had an objection that was filed on Wednesday. On Thursday, the defendants filed an objection to our objection. And within an hour, the judge had issued an order on it, denying our original motion. So you're not even getting a fair hearing in most cases. The judges have already predetermined how something's going to come out, and then they're going, and you know, at the end of the day, it's, do you have enough money? Do you have enough chutzpah to keep going and fighting them? Because what they do is they file frivolous complaints against you, or in some way they muddy the water, or they play the clock. There are all kinds of little sneaky judge tricks, to paraphrase a friend of mine, to take things in another direction. So we have to constantly have people like you who will actually give us the opportunity to have our voices heard. And this has been the gameplay. I mean, Frank and Sean did a beautiful job the other day showing the chairman of the Republican Party turning around saying, do you want us to have to face a lawsuit? Well, he's in a lawsuit. And what's he doing? He's violating the bylaws of the party that say that the attorneys that are there are only supposed to be an advisory position. And yet he's employed them, and he's using state party money to pay for them. And of course, now they go out and they say, well, Karen Testerman's part of that lawsuit, and she's the reason that we have no money in the Republican Party, so we can't help the candidates. So I'm the bully, you know,
You seem really aggressive as a person, Karen. Hey, you know what? I want to get right back to that. I want to get right back to that with the guys all sitting together and like really developing on that. But I wondered whether John wanted to speak as to his perspective on what he's hearing from you guys on the Republican side of things, and maybe even Ed. I mean, Ed has sort of given us that perspective already. But do you see it, John, happening to them, to your opponents, you know, who are typically your opponents? And do you feel the same exact way about your opponents on your side at this current moment?
You know, it's been kind of a funny story, because everybody told me that getting into it, that the party would totally cut me out and would not really have any time for me because I don't have a bunch of rich friends to donate to their party. But luckily, at the very beginning, I was able to meet someone that had been a state rep for about a decade in Manchester. And so she came on board as my campaign manager for a very low sum of money. And because of that, she was able to introduce me to all the people in the party. And it's been kind of funny because I wouldn't say they've necessarily been supportive, but they've sort of like kept me around as kind of I think a little bit like a I don't know, like a prop, if you will. They sort of can they invite me. I speak at all these events that that all the other people are there too, and I think if there was as many people running, it probably they wouldn't have let me in. Like if there was like another, if there was 7 of us, but because there was only the 2 ladies and then me, it was like there was always time for me to give another speech. And I think they just kind of thought like, maybe he'll bring some young people in, what can it hurt? I think was maybe the idea. And then once they invited me to a few events, it was really hard for them to not invite me to other events. And then it was kind of funny because the irony is that I go to all these, town, Democratic meetings. And once you're running, they basically have to let you speak at the county or the town meetings. So I'll go to these town meetings that might have, literally a half a dozen people at them. And I'll give my spiel. And I don't think that those meetings are very productive in terms of like, these are establishment Democrats that are going to vote for Joyce or Cindy. But the funny part was that by videotaping and posting photos of me at these events online and just saying, oh, I'm in Claremont today, I'm in Keene today, I'm in the next day, you know what I mean? The perception from my social media was that I was really active and driving around the state. Not that that wasn't true, but it put off this air that my campaign was maybe potentially bigger than it actually was, to be honest. And then that gave the impression, especially because I had a campaign manager that was able to introduce me to these people, I was able to set an impression that I had maybe more support than I actually did. And then the other thing that's really funny that we did that helped a lot too was I had this one woman who volunteered at the very beginning of the campaign to drive signs all over the state. So she put signs literally from just all over, up to North Conway and over to Keene and stuff. And so then people saw those signs and they said, oh, he's got support all over the state. And they didn't realize it was really just this one lady that was actually doing all the signing. But I'm a big fake it till you make it kind of person. And so it was funny because we weren't getting on WMUR. And I knew that to have any impact in this race, I had to get on WMUR. That's our only statewide news station, basically. And they were ignoring me until I basically got as many people as I could to just email them and say, hey, email Adam Sexton, why aren't you covering this guy? And I don't know if it was that or what, but literally a week after I asked my followers on social media to email him, he called me and said, hey, we're coming down to your restaurant to do a story. So it's kind of funny because, I mean, a lot of this is sort of like, honestly, I mean, not like it's fake, but there's like this perception.
There's a perception.
Yeah. And I mean, the reality is like all politics, perception is reality. There's really no, there's no almost, I mean, I hate to say it, but there's almost no truth to any of this. We're all sort of presenting this. I mean, even the platform, I try to tell people like, they'll try to attack me about these details of my platform. And I'm like, hey, this is all aspirational. The legislature is going to pass whatever they want to pass. And this is my idea of the best way to do it. But like, honestly, is that going to be what gets through? Probably not. It's probably going to be way over here, but at least I'm messaging the ideal, sort of laws I would like to sign in or whatever. So it's kind of funny because I mean, the funniest part to me has been that I'll tell people like, hey, we could propose whatever, but I know what we'll get. I'm pretty sure I know what we'll get passed. Like with legalization of cannabis, there's an ideal way to do it. And then there's the way that I'm pretty sure we'll get through the Senate based on what people have told me. And some of the supporters of cannabis want me to tell them that I support a way that I don't think will get through the legislature. And I'm just telling them like, I'm trying to be honest with you and not lie to you about what is really going to be like possible. But it's so funny because frequently people almost want you to lie to them. They just like, abortion's a good example. I try to take the abortion argument as just, forget about like getting into months or gestation periods or anything like that. To me, it's just a matter of the government shouldn't be telling people what to do in their medical lives. And that's the only debate you really need to have. And once you get over that, we're not talking about 6 weeks or 8 weeks. Like, I don't know about that stuff. I don't have a uterus. I'm never going to have to decide that. But I've had people call me out and say, you're not talking about abortion. I'm like, I don't think abortion is really the issue. It's a privacy issue to me. And it doesn't really, it could be abortion. It could be, what medications I'm taking or what vaccine I'm going to get. I don't want the government telling me I have to do those things. And I don't really think we need to even get into details about it. But it's just, the irony is that the base actually just wants to hear the stupid one-liners. Like, they just want me to get up there and say, Republicans are bad, abortion is good, and
that's why. And that's why you're not leading in your party, because you're not putting that that aura out there that you're just gonna go and be supportive. And meanwhile, 70% of the people are always going to be against all you guys anyway. No matter what you guys say, 70% are against you. You'll have 30% that are with you, right?
Well, you're not parodying the party line is what it really amounts to. And
it was really funny.
Right. People want to hear certain things, and if they hear that, then you're their candidate.
Yeah. I mean, one of the other funny things is I was on Adam Sexton's show Up Close right after Biden's, terrible speech. And he asked me what I felt about it. And I said, on TV, I was like, he's got to go. Obviously, this guy can't be president in 3 or 4 years. Like, anyone could tell that was the case. And it was so funny because the Democratic establishment just lost their minds about it. And, then, Bob, a month or a couple weeks later, he drops out and they're all like, oh my God, we're so thrilled for Kamala. I'm like, I'm the only person that had the balls to tell you what was obviously right in front of your faces. And we had people message the campaign and say, hey, we're Republican leaning independents and we are going to vote for you because you're the only one telling the truth out of all of these Democrats that are just lying to us about what is clearly a frail old man, So I have all of my support is basically independent leaning or independence, and
can I ask you this, John, and then we'll get off the topic of the presidency.
Yeah, sure.
But being that is the case, how did that person win it from his basement in 2020? That would be my only question from you, because I like you, but how did that guy that just lost so badly in public eye do it from his basement in 2020? There's only one way he did it.
Well, I mean, if you look at the videos of him in 2020 versus 2024, I mean, his decline was pretty rapid. I mean, at least in 2020, he could put together a sentence. I mean, he can't really even, talk coherently anymore. Which I think is just, it's how it goes with aging. Some people just, it's like downhill really fast. And, you meet people that are in their 90s that are fine. But it definitely, it definitely was a huge red flag.
Hey, so Bobby, you wanted to speak on that topic?
Okay, so here's what I'm finding out. When I go and meet up with people that want to run for things, everybody wants to argue about the same stuff over and over and over. And
Bobby, one sec. Can you speak right into it? Because it's a little muffled.
Candidate after candidate for a long time, literally 20, 30 years. I was in a city hall meeting maybe a month ago, and a mayor from the 80s was there. And he literally said, we're dealing with the same problems as in the 80s. And I was like, I was the only one that said something about that. I can't even believe it. But when we keep circling this energy back and forth, we don't get anywhere. If we really want to get somewhere, we need to paint a picture for New Hampshire that is literally golden timeline values in a way that nobody else can envision, and then build systems to get there.
And that was my thought with the Constitution Party. I don't care if you're Republican. I don't care if you're Democrat. I don't care if you're Libertarian. The one thing that should always bind us is the rule of the law, the Constitution. If you're following the Constitution, hey, it shouldn't matter if you're Republican and Democrat. George Washington spoke of the issues warned us against the evils of a two-party system for that one reason. And my thought is Constitution is for everybody. It's not just for Republicans. It's not for Democrats. It's for everybody. And both sides are breaking it with, do all kinds of laws. Oh, executive order. The other one replaces that executive order, another executive order. That's all illegal. That's not supposed to happen. It's supposed to go through Congress. That's how that works. I mean, I know you guys all know that, but so yeah, I'm sorry. I just had to throw that in there.
Fighting for us, like Dan Richards.
Yep.
Well, which technically he was staying at on Friday. We went to lunch. All of us went to lunch with Dan Richards, and we were speaking to him, and he gave us a spiel about exactly what would happen with the verdict, yay or nay, on his case. And if they rule against him, he's already tried the other two avenues. This is his last avenue. And if they find against him, it would literally dissolve the country, as I understand what he was saying. I don't think he's signing with the state.
They're not even taking it seriously. They're throwing different judges at him every time we go there. There should be a judge that wants to take all these cases on to figure out what's going on. And I feel like you can find the list of judges online. We need to go talk to them specifically and see what they think, because there's obviously constitutional judges in New Hampshire. We are number one for a reason, and we are magical number 9.
Guys,
So
do you want to? Yep. Go ahead, Sean.
I'd like to work together right now. If anybody has a suggestion on how we could all participate in something to push for accountability, I'd love to see a judicial accountability and integrity legislation, for example, for the judicial branch. But they don't have enough judges to hold the judges accountable. They have one judge has a complaint filed against them in Coos County to go to the another court to hold him accountable, and he's the judge there too, and he's not going to find himself guilty. It's really the way it is here in New Hampshire. And so, with that being said, what's everybody's plan to make accountability in New Hampshire?
Anybody want to take a stand?
I mean, I have my plan for the YDC thing. I have a comprehensive investigation that will happen within 60 days. It'll start, and then it has all these committees and subcommittees, and there will be, family members and victims as part of the process, and it will be open and it will be transparent. And we will find what Kelly Ayotte and nobody in Sununu and all the other people involved in the cover-up will find out where the chain of command broke. We'll find out exactly how this happened for 60 years. And we're going to be bankrupt from this. The first of 1,400 civil cases was 38 million. It's going to be $50 billion potentially. At least 35 billion, and that's half the state budget if you spread it out over 10 years. So
all the more reason to have our own current.
Right, but I mean, there's so many judges and people and AGs and everything that's implicated in this thing for the past 60 years, 6 decades, that we can clean house and get all this corruption out of there. Gordon McDonald, all of them.
And we got a lot of people, everybody knows their own little avenue, and coming together as a big mastermind and putting together ideas and plans is really how to do it, right? So Frank's wicked good with what he's doing.
So yeah, I would suggest everybody check out my plan on the website, and please, it's franknstaples.org. You'll see my comprehensive investigation plan, and anybody can adopt that and support it. The more support, the better. Even if I don't win, somebody has to do this investigation plan, whether it's John Typer, Sean, Bobby, whoever. This needs to get settled. And this is what's going to root out all the corruption, in my opinion. It's a golden goose.
I think that we need to find a sheriff to work with as well. And I think that talking to the National Guard, which we already did, we went to the JAG court and delivered them some paperwork. And other things like this, how their avenues, I mean, the highest law of the land around here should be constitutional sheriffs. But what is it? Marshals?
What? U.S. Marshals?
Yeah. U.S. Marshal.
They shouldn't even be in the state.
They have the same jurisdiction as a general or an admiral. And there's an office in the state. Why hasn't anybody gone there and talked to these people? We need to talk to the highest powerful people and get them vibed up on our side, knowing what's going on in a way that they're like, oh, I want to
Darren,
help
unmute.
because I can see now.
So it's going to really take individuals who are listening to these podcasts to get involved. And this is a nationwide kind of a thing. I mean, when you realize the corruption that's going on within the ballot box, and it's going to take each individual, groups of people, 10 in each voting precinct, for example, who would go in and challenge those undeclared and same-day registrations to see if they're going to actually follow the law as it's written. And unless we get small pockets of people in every community, then we're not going to make the process that we need to. So the progress that we need to. So we need people to step up. It's not just the person that gets elected or someone who's running for election. It's also every everyday person who's out there. The voters themselves have to get involved, because we're the people who hold these other people, our moderators, our city councilors, our selectmen, our election officials, whoever it is, all the way up through the ranks and within the state. Those are the people who we need to hold accountable, who have been running away, and they're the foxes that are guarding the hen house. We have to get involved so that they are replaced by we the people. So, it's educating ourselves as to what can we do. And there are plans within in the state. Dan Richard has one, and be careful. There are two Daniel Richard, and there's also a Daniel Richards. So Daniel, who's been fighting for the election integrity, is no S on the end. So, but we need to get behind them and find out what is it that they have a plan. Like Frank has a plan. There was I think it was Frank's letter that went to the GOP saying, hey, all candidates should be heard. And if everybody who's in the listening district who's in New Hampshire would sit down and write that letter, it doesn't have to be the same wording, but if they would write that letter that to the chairman of the party, then maybe we would actually get some action. Because when they hear from all of these people, then they feel the heat, and then they'll take action. So it takes us
It's like making the Constitution cool again. People like to do cool stuff. They like to move forward with higher standards all the time. Everything, all marketing and sales dependent upon standards of living and standards of feeling inside of ourselves. And when we can push that in a way that people are like, oh, and they wake up and they see better, oh, and they want to help. And that's all it requires, is doing that and painting the whole picture so everybody in New Hampshire gets their little piece of pie, and we're leading it as the people, as a big group, mastermind, into one couple few ideas and direction. I feel like that's the way to go, rather than literally bickering with all these people. It takes so much energy to do that, but we do have the people to do it, and we can help them along the way.
Ed, you're next.
We don't have to argue at the very top about everything.
Okay, and in the Constitution part, I have a friend, Regina Barnes, and she was a selectman for Hampton. And I don't know if you guys heard what's going on there, something similar, where she challenged the election, and she went in with the election integrity officer, and they found 30 boxes opened. Now, these things are supposed to be sealed, and she counted them. She went to court over this. So what I usually do, being the chairman of the Constitution Party, we have a Zoom meeting every, once a month. I invite Regina Barnes on, someone who's experienced this to share with, our constitutionalists. And I invite Michelle Livell. She's an expert on school choice for them. So that way, and I encourage everybody to share it. So that way the state gets to see, what people are doing to step up to to fix this mess that they're in. Like Karen says, step up and say, hey, you know what? This is wrong. I challenge this. You can do that. You can go to your town hall and say, I want to see the list of voters. I want the checklist, and you have every right to do that. So that's what I do. That's what we do, I should say, in the Constitution Party. I try to have an expert on a different subject every month come in on our Zoom meeting. And even if nobody watches the Zoom, we tape it and we share it. We put it out there for anybody who wants to see it. Regina also has a New Hampshire muckraker thing. She's on Rumble, and she shares Truth Bomb Tuesday, she calls it, and gives a little bomb out every Tuesday. It's pretty entertaining and pretty educational.
That's really good. Thank you, Ed, for your service. Literally, this guy went around and got signatures. We just signed up. He had a whole entire journey ahead of him to do this.
Hey, these three gentlemen at this booth, they also helped me. I give it to them. Hey, they showed up, and when somebody approached me and I didn't have an answer for it, or I thought Frank's answer was better than mine, you could ask him. I said, hey, listen, this guy Frank right here, I'm a constitutionalist, a third party. He's a Republican. I says, he knows way more about the YDC thing. He's experienced. He's got it. So I flipped it over to him because why not? He's a better candidate on that subject than me. So why not say, hey, Frank, can you answer this person's question? And a lot of people like that. They were like, hey, wow, thank you for being honest. I'm like, hey, listen, if I'm going to I'm not an expert on everything, but if I get elected, I'm going to find the best person I can, most knowledgeable person I can, most trustworthy person I can, and I'm going to go to them.
It seems like the fake news is blocking everything.
So let me ask the other podcasters here if Bree, Susie, or James want to jump in and just from a perspective of where you're at, have you seen the same things going on in your state? Because I have. Like, New York and New Jersey is sort of like a mimic of what is going on there. It's just in a smaller place like New Hampshire, it seems easier to isolate the corruption that is going on. It's just rampant there. So Bree, you're shaking your head. Maybe you want to take a shot at it. What's happening in Texas?
Well, we're a pretty big state, so it is hard to wrangle things down. But Ken Paxton has been, our Attorney General, has been going after people for certain things. So I think they're trying to get it together. And the whole ballot box thing, my opinion, I don't agree with them. I think they ought to ditch those things and run them over a couple times because I do not agree with those. I've seen what happened in 2020. I'm very aware of what happened in 2020. And I mean, something really strange happened with my mother in 2020 who passed away in 98. So I don't agree with them. And us here, I think that we've had our governor for quite a long time.
And his dad.
Yeah. No. Who?
Oh, you're from New Jersey?
No. I'm from Texas.
Oh,
yeah.
Texas.
Yeah, but he might be bad. He might be bad anyway. I don't know. He's not great.
He's been around for a long time, but I think with him, he kind of watches his P's and Q's because we don't really, we'd get him out in a heartbeat. So, but our government's been doing all right. This border thing, now, there's another one. I'm I'm not okay with this either. So I mean, I am all for people coming here legally and making, we're the land of opportunity, so they say. So I don't have a problem with that. But the whole rush that we've been getting, it's bad. It's bad. And it goes all over the place. It's not just here.
Yeah,
everybody has it.
James, what about you in out in Arizona?
Well,
chat.
Let's get unmuzzled here, shall we? We are not as blue is the lying mainstream media would have you believe. We are blood red. But so even personally, when the shenanigans happened in 2022 here, and that stinking, oh, check that out. Way to go, Mark.
Yeah, you like that?
Yeah. The
Bang that
yeah,
right
the
over your face.
tabulator wouldn't accept my original ballot. So I got back in line, got another ballot, and as I sat there filling that one out, I noticed all these people were just accepting dropping it in that box. Clearly, there were shenanigans. So I ended up looking at the register, like my whole history of voting history, and I realized even with 2020 that I always went in the day of, and 2020's was registered as an early vote. Like, how does that happen? Right. So I'd venture to say my name went for someone I didn't select or choose. Right. So there was a selection that happened, not an election. That's why we got to show up. I like how accountability got brought up, and we, the American people, need to hold ourselves accountable to shift. There's no pointing the fingers out there. Like, we're surprised the evil has infiltrated and all this corruption. We as Americans have been too self-serving and selfish. That's the reality of the situation. We've allowed this corruption to happen. So it is up to us whether or not we value our kids' future, our future enough to show up and fight this evil, because it's spiritual warfare. These individuals are so demonic. I don't understand as to why we're idling, sitting by, idle. Man, I'm tripping over words. But
well, look, Laura Violet is
I'm
supporting
human.
you here in the fight. She's saying it at exactly the same time. So I posted it up under you. Is she saying this is a spiritual battle? Because I mean, the corruption
100%.
is really on both sides, and
Yes.
we've just got to get through it. We've got to take them out. And all the people that are here tonight, James, from New Hampshire, are here to take out the people who have been holding us hostage.
Yes.
You know, whether it be John, who's a Democrat, whether it be Ed, who's, a former Republican who's now running on a constitutional party because he just doesn't believe in it anymore. Right?
Wow.
We're all disillusioned in what's going on here.
Hat tip to all of you. You're warriors in my book. I mean, we got a hand raised. I'm just grateful for the opportunity to rebroadcast this, because the truth of the matter is we just need to get this information out. We need people to source their information. I like what Sean brought up as far as health. Are you kidding me? They've been poisoning the American people. We've been under attack since the conception of this country. It is clear that from the conception of this country, we became the greatest threats to the dictators worldwide and the rulers worldwide. So it's no secret.
And Democrat or Republican, we both believe that they're poisoning us through our food at the minimum, right?
Yes. So to gain our freaking health, then we can up our resilience. We can get more engaged. In fact, be excited to seize the opportunities, because it's not tomorrow, it's today. It's right here, right now, living it up to fulfilling our purpose in this life. We really need to get off of the selfishness, let go of pride and ego. It is healthy to question things, vet our information, just like we should vet our food, and become part of the freaking solution. So I just want to praise y'all, and I hope that listeners can start getting more involved, getting more engaged. And Mark, what you're doing here is fantastic. So I just hope you gain more support, because it's a collective. It's everyone showing up with their God-given gifts, tapping into that. We're going to create the momentum and the solutions we all so desperately need. And we fulfill like our purpose in the process. Like, the time's now. We need to stop messing around.
Let's go. Bree, go. Bree. And then Bobby, you're up right after that. Let's bring on you three guys.
And Susan's got a question.
It'll be quick. First of all, James, we got to talk.
Okay.
Second of all, I'm going to just say this. My mother, I spent 10 years in Arizona, and that's where my mother was when she passed away in 98.
Okay.
And my family has always voted Republican. Okay. And my mother voted in 2020 Democrat. So, yes, there is definitely a problem with the systems.
Yes, there is.
Period. So, yeah.
It's beyond showing up, making it too big to rig. There's a lot of cleaning house needed to be done. And the American first, that's what we got to focus on. Because all that money, everything that's getting brought up, we can't, just like personal relationships, you can't show up and have a healthy relationship till you focus on yourself and you fix things, right? Trying to make things more applicable. It is ludicrous to be doing these, appeasing these evildoers and just their squirrel tactics.
And I'm going to tell you, whether anybody believes it or not, we need to start putting God back in this country.
Yes.
Period.
Yep. Guys, Bobby, you're up.
Go ahead.
Hey, this guy over here, he was, where is he, from Arizona?
Yeah, he's from Arizona.
Yes, sir.
Oh, dude. Whoa. Those are some good words.
While he's talking, everybody can see me just signing my name to this. I'm going on board with what Frank's doing here because I'm a witness to it and it's happening to me as well. But I've been at the same events he was at and I've been shut out at the same time. So I just want everybody to know that we are physically doing this right in front of you. And that's what's up. So go ahead, Bobby.
Can you guys fully detail that for the viewing audience as to what happened the other day, and then tie it back to everything else that's gone on? Because the other day was really, I was hoping that we were going to be able to show that in video, because it's the epitome of what's going on here in the political arena of New Hampshire. So go, Frank.
I thought I did send that to you, right? I sent the video. I sent it. I put a link in there in that chat. So, yeah.
I don't
have I sent it to you on Telegram, but I don't know what to do. So there's two different things here that we've been talking about. There's the letter that I wrote on August 29th. It is on Twitter or X, whatever. I will post this to the website. I haven't had a chance yet. And then this other one, I could post that there too, so people can just copy and paste it and use it for themselves. But this is a letter to Chris Ager, ICC, New Hampshire Institute of Politics, St. Anselm College, and New Hampshire Journal, because they're trying to claim that it was the New Hampshire Journal debate, even though it was called the GOP primary debate, not the New Hampshire Journal debate. So that is a problem. It violates the bylaws, and this is a formal complaint regarding exclusion from GOP primary debate and proposal for an open debate at Reps Hall. And so I say I'm writing to formally lodge a complaint regarding the recent GOP primary debate held by New Hampshire Institute of Politics at St. Anselm College and hosted by the New Hampshire Journal. The event was billed as a GOP primary debate, yet several candidates, including myself, were excluded from participating. This exclusion appears to be in direct violation of the principles of neutrality and fairness as outlined in the New Hampshire Republican State Committee bylaws. Specific concerns: billed as a GOP primary debate. The event was advertised as a GOP primary debate, which inherently implies it is an official Republican event. Despite this, only Kelly Ayotte and Chuck Morris were allowed to participate, while other duly qualified Republican candidates, including myself, were excluded. This selective inclusion undermines the GOP's commitment to neutrality during primary elections, as stated in the bylaws under Article 2A. Number 2, GOP leadership's presence. You, Chris Ager, were present at the debate, yet publicly distanced yourself by claiming not to be invited. This raises serious concerns about the GOP leadership's role in allowing the event to be billed as a GOP debate while not ensuring equal participation for all Republican candidates. The attempt to distance yourself from the event while allowing the GOP's name to be used suggests a lack of transparency and accountability. 3, potential constitutional violations. The exclusion of candidates from a debate billed as an official GOP primary event may also violate the New Hampshire state constitution, specifically Part 1, Article 8, accountability of government. This article emphasizes transparency and accountability in governmental actions by allowing the GOP's name to be used in promoting an exclusive event. The leadership may have compromised these principles. Part 1, Article 22, free speech and liberty of the press. The exclusion from the debate may have restricted my ability to communicate my platform to voters, potentially infringing on my right to free speech. Part 1, Article 11, elections and elective franchises. The exclusion from a debate that was framed as an official GOP event could be seen as an interference in the electoral process, denying voters the opportunity to hear from all qualified candidates. In Part 2, Article 83, is the encouragement of literature, arts, sciences, and commerce. But this article prohibits any form of monopoly or exclusive privilege that could hinder the development of a free and informed society. By excluding certain candidates from an event billed as a GOP primary debate, the organizers may be violating Article 83 by creating an exclusive platform for a select few, thereby monopolizing the political discourse and limiting the electorate's ability to hear from all candidates equally. And commitment to GOP values. As a dedicated member of the Republican Party, I'm committed to ensuring that our primary process reflects the GOP's core values of fairness, transparency, and equal opportunity for all candidates. The strength of our party lies in adherence to these principles, which is why the actions surrounding this debate are so concerning. Proposal for a new and open debate. To address these concerns and restore fairness to the primary process, I propose that the New Hampshire GOP organize a new open primary debate at Representatives Hall in the State House. Representatives Hall, with its 400-seat capacity, is an ideal venue for such an event, allowing ample space for voters, media, and all GOP candidates. This would provide a transparent and equitable platform for all candidates to present their positions to the electorate, ensuring that the principles of fairness and neutrality are upheld. And now the request for action. So given the serious nature of these concerns, I respectfully request the following actions: immediate review and response, an internal review of the decision-making process that led to the exclusion of candidates from this debate. A public response from the New Hampshire Republican State Committee is required to clarify the role of GOP leadership in this event and how it aligns with the bylaws. 2, future debate guidelines. Clear guidelines and policies should be established to ensure that all GOP primary debates promoted under the party's name are conducted with full inclusion of all qualified candidates. This will prevent any future instances of exclusion and maintain the GOP's commitment to neutrality. 3, investigation into constitutional violations. I intend to explore potential violations of the New Hampshire state constitution that may have occurred due to these exclusionary practices. I ask that GOP leadership cooperate with any legal inquiries that arise from this investigation. 4, organization of a new debate. I already said that. And this is also a public statement. This complaint serves as both an internal communication and a public statement. The New Hampshire GOP and the New Hampshire Institute of Politics, St. Anselm College, and New Hampshire Journal must answer for their roles in excluding qualified Republican candidates from a debate that was presented as a GOP primary event. The integrity of our electoral process demands transparency, fairness, and equal opportunity. So for all candidates. And so I look forward for a prompt response. Sincerely, Frank Negus Staples. So that's the first one. I wrote that on the 29th. And then this one is a formal complaint against Kelly Ayotte's campaign for misrepresentation of endorsements and false advertising. And so the ones that I have here, I wrote up as a draft that anyone can put in there, the blank spot for your name. It says, I, whoever you are, a concerned New Hampshire voter for the New Hampshire gubernatorial race, formally submit this complaint against Kelly Ayotte and her campaign for the deliberate and unethical misrepresentation of endorsements and the dissemination of false and misleading advertisements. This complaint requests a thorough investigation into these actions and the imposition of appropriate penalties, including the potential removal of Kelly Ayotte from the ballot. The integrity of New Hampshire's electoral process relies on transparency and fairness, both of which have been compromised by Ayotte campaign. Factual background. Kelly Ayotte's campaign has persistently presented endorsements and advertisements in a manner that is likely to mislead voters regarding the level and nature of the support she has received, as well as the accuracy of her opponent's record. The endorsements and advertisements in question include public officials. Ayotte's campaign has listed endorsements from current and former public officials using their official titles in a way that implies these endorsements are from the offices themselves rather than from individuals in a personal capacity. This practice could mislead voters into believing these endorsements carry the authority of the offices rather than being personal opinions. Key examples include Belknap County Sheriff Bill Wright, Coos County Sheriff Brian Valerino, Hillsborough County Sheriff Chris Connolly, Sullivan County Sheriff John Simons, former Belknap County Sheriff Mike Moyer, Hillsborough County Fish and Game Commissioner Ray Green, Hillsborough County Treasurer David Fredette. B. Law enforcement associations. Ayotte's campaign has highlighted endorsements from various law enforcement associations, framing them in a way that suggests broader institutional support than may actually exist. This misleading presentation could imply that the entire law enforcement bodies support her candidacy. Examples include the New Hampshire Troopers Association. The campaign's language implies that this endorsement represents the broader law enforcement community rather than just the association's leadership or a subset of its members. New Hampshire Police Association. Similarly, this endorsement is framed as a comprehensive endorsement from all police officers in the state.
That's crazy.
Rather than a specific group within the association. You can't do that, no. New Hampshire Police Benevolent Association. This endorsement implies a collective support from law enforcement personnel, potentially misleading voters about the extent of the support within the law enforcement community. Newspaper endorsements. Endorsements from newspapers such as the Union Leader, Seacoast Online, and Conway Daily Sun are presented without the necessary clarification that these endorsements come from the editorial boards, not the entire newspaper institutions. This lack of clarity can mislead voters into believing that the endorsements represent the views of the entire newspaper staff or institution. Examples include Union Leader endorsement. Ayotte's tweets and posts thank the Union Leader without clarifying the endorsement is from its editorial board, creating potential confusion about the source of the endorsement. Seacoast Online endorsement. Similarly, this endorsement is presented without clarification, potentially leading voters to believe it represents the full institution. Conway Daily Sun endorsement. The lack of explicit distinction between an editorial board endorsement and a full newspaper endorsement could mislead voters. And there's a lot more of these newspaper ones. The website endorsements page. The endorsements page on Ayotte's campaign website lists associations and individuals with official sounding titles, potentially implying official or broader support than what may actually exist. The lack of clear distinctions between personal and official endorsements is concerning. Examples from the list include Governor Chris Sununu, Newfields. He's not allowed to use his official position to endorse, especially prior to the primary, as Ed said. Former Governor Craig Benson, former Governor and U.S. Senator Judd Gregg, former U.S. Senator Ambassador Scott Brown, former Congressman Charlie Bass, former Lady of New Hampshire Kathy Gregg, Executive Counselor Ted Gatzis, former Executive Counselor Ruth Griffin, retired Police Chief John Clark, Hillsborough County Commissioner Tony Pappas, Sullivan County Commissioner Joe Osgood. E. Misleading advertisement incident. On August 30th, reporter Kevin Landrigan revealed that Ayotte's campaign released an advertisement that falsely claimed the murder of former Union Leader staffer Denise Robert occurred during the tenure of Joyce Craig as mayor of Manchester. In reality, the murder took place in 2015 before Craig took office. Ayotte's campaign subsequently acknowledged this error, issuing an apology to the Robert family and instructed stations to stop airing the ad. The incident reflects a pattern of misrepresentation and raises serious concerns about the accuracy and truthfulness of Ayotte's campaign communications. Legal and ethical violations. Misuse of official position. RSA 21G23. The use of official titles in a manner that implies institutional endorsement could violate New Hampshire's state laws prohibiting public officials from using their positions to influence elections. This misuse may have unduly influenced voters by presenting endorsements as more authoritative than they truly are. Conflict of interest, RSA 21G22. By presenting endorsements in a way that might compromise the perceived neutrality of public offices, Kelly Ayotte campaign could be creating a conflict of interest. This conflict undermines public trust and the ethical standards expected in a democratic process. False advertising and deceptive practices, New Hampshire Consumer Protection Act, RSA 358A. The misleading presentation of endorsements could be considered deceptive advertising under this act. By blurring the lines between personal and official endorsements, the campaign may have engaged in unfair practices that violate consumer trust. Election law violations, 644-2. This statute mandates that all political advertising must be truthful. The misrepresentation of endorsements from public officials, associations, and newspapers could violate this law, particularly when such representations sway voter perception. D, violation of campaign finance disclosure requirements, RSA 15A1. If these endorsements are considered in-kind contributions, which they are, they must be properly documented and disclosed according to New Hampshire campaign finance laws. And that's another part of the problem is there's no actual endorsements from, these sheriffs. You can't find it, anything, what they said, what they're endorsing, how they're endorsing. And so it's just strange how that's left out of there. Failure to show this documentation could constitute a violation of transparency and disclosure requirements. New Hampshire state constitutional violations. Article 8, Part 1, accountability of public officers. New Hampshire Constitution requires public officers to be accountable to the people. The misleading use of titles and endorsements in Ayotte's campaign violates this constitutional mandate by distorting the truth about the nature of the support she has received. Article 11, Part 1, elections and elected franchise. This article guarantees free and fair elections. The misrepresentation of endorsements undermines this constitutional right by compromising the fairness and transparency of the electoral process. Article 12, Part 1, protection and defense of the public good. The Constitution emphasizes the government's role in protecting the public good. The Ayotte campaign actions could be seen as contrary to this principle, and they potentially erode public trust in the electoral process. Supporting evidence, we've got all the screenshots and her website, so it's all there. Tweets and website pages, tweets from Kevin Landrigan regarding, and a lot of people on X were tweeting out about that ad that, it's a pretty big deal. And apparently it's just the tip of the iceberg. And it's obviously a pattern here. Oh. So here's the whole list of endorsers. There's all those sheriffs, Chief Ann Pellerino, Pelham Police Department, County Attorney John Coughlin, Hillsborough County Attorney, Chief Deputy Gary Fisher, Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office, High Sheriff Richard Foote, Cheshire County Sheriff's Office, retired, Coos County, Coos, whatever, I'm sorry, I know it's Coos, Coos County, Fish and Game Commissioner, and there's a whole bunch of these. Sullivan County Commissioner Joe Osgood, Sullivan County Commissioner Benny Nelson, Hillsborough County Commissioner Tony Pappas, there's so many listed here, it's ridiculous. So this is the pattern of misrepresentation, and this complaint establishes a pattern of behavior by Kelly Ayotte's campaign that systematically misleads voters about the breadth and nature of her support. By consistently using official titles and presenting endorsements in a way that blurs the lines between personal and official capacities, combined with the recent dissemination of false information in an advertisement, the campaign has potentially created a false perception of widespread institutional support and factually inaccurate claims against opponents. They had to. That's the only way she's going to win. So anticipated defenses and counter arguments. So yeah, I'm going to anticipate some of their defenses and counter arguments here. Identification versus misrepresentation. The campaign may argue that titles are used merely for identification. However, when viewed in aggregate, the repeated use of these titles without proper clarification creates a misleading narrative that overstates Ayott's support. B, common knowledge argument. The defense that newspaper endorsements are commonly understood to be from editorial boards does not absolve the campaign from the responsibility of making this clear in political communications. Voters should not have to infer the nature of endorsements. Clarity is crucial in maintaining transparency. 7, demands for an investigation and remedies. Injunction against further misrepresentation. I request an immediate injunction to prevent Kelly Ayott's campaign from continuing to present endorsements in misleading ways. This includes the use of official titles and the framing of editorial endorsements. Corrective advertising. Ayott's campaign should be required to run corrective advertisements that clarify the nature of the endorsements, explicitly stating whether they are personal or institutional and whether newspaper endorsements come from editorial boards. Public apology and admission of fault. Kelly Ayotte should publicly apologize and admit to the misrepresentation of endorsements and the dissemination of the false advertisement, which she's already admitted to. So this public acknowledgement is necessary to restore voter trust and promote and demonstrate accountability. Financial penalties. Any fines imposed should be allocated specifically to voter education initiatives, particularly those that help voters recognize and combat misinformation in political campaigns. Removal from the ballot. Given the severity of the misrepresentation and its potential impact on the election, I request that Kelly Ayotte be removed from the ballot. Conclusion, the deliberate and unethical actions of Kelly Ayotte's campaign in misrepresenting endorsements and disseminating false advertisements undermine the integrity of New Hampshire's electoral process. The seriousness of these actions warrants a thorough investigation, the imposition of penalties, and the implementation of corrective measures to restore transparency and fairness in the election. Given the extensive evidence of misrepresentation, including the recent incident involving a false advertisement and the potential violations of New Hampshire state law and ethical standards, it is imperative that the appropriate authorities take immediate action. The integrity of the electoral process is at stake, and swift action is necessary to protect the rights of voters and ensure a fair and honest election, not a selection, right?
Whose responsibility would that be, Frank?
So it's coming up right here. I request that the New Hampshire Secretary of State, the Attorney General's Office, and the Executive Branch Ethics Committee investigate these practices and impose the necessary penalties to prevent further misleading conduct. This includes not only the removal of Kelly Ayotte from the ballot, but also the enforcement of corrective advertising and other remedies to ensure that voters are accurately informed about the nature of her endorsements and the facts concerning her opponents.
Bravo.
Right on.
Thank you. Sorry that was so long.
Well done, Frankie. Woo!
So one other thing I'd like to bring up for people
Give
who
the man
chase
a drink.
here is www.grazingthesurface.com. It's spelled with a Z. If you search this with a S, the way Talk to Text will automatically spell it, it'll come up nothing. It has to be spelled GRAZINGTHESURFAC.
It's all over the screen there.
So with that,
Great website.
So with that being said, I just wanted to make sure everybody had that, and I would like the video that you have to get played so people understand that everything that Frank says has validity about us getting shut out of.
Absolutely.
If you don't mind.
I'm bringing that on right now, and as I do, I just wanted to tell you, Frank, is that
Yep.
the week before, their debate that they said they went on TV and said that it was the first Republican debate ever. The very week before, Sean has texts with her. She was going to come on and debate debate him on the show. And so she was going to come on the week before, and then the week after, she's on with Chuck Morse on the first Republican debate. Wait, it's the third one, first of all, and you didn't show up for the first two. So what you're saying about her extends out in every single part of her campaign. It's
100%.
a farce. the whole thing.
It's all,
So-
and she's got tons of out of state. You look at the people who follow her on X, it's mostly out of staters. And the people that show up and come out, these are all people who make millions of dollars a year, like she does. They got tons of money. And so they're able to follow her around and make it seem like she has this natural, broad base of support, when it's always the same people at all these events there to support her. And she also says the same stuff. If I've been to so many of them with her, she's got the same crap,
And honestly,
and
Chuck
she's
Morse,
saying that she's pushing false crap, right? She also mentioned me by name during the debate, and says I brought up a conspiracy theory about the YDC case, which is, there's 1,400 victims on the civil suit, and there was 11 staff members arrested. And then there's hundreds of staff and state workers who still work for the state implicated in the cover-up with the broken chain of command. And she's not, interested in sorting that out in any way.
Isn't that weird?
That's why she's coming back, because she has to protect her own ass
Oh, wow.
and all her friends.
from
Right?
an out of staters perspective, Chuck Morse is like identical to her persona. The only thing is he's running second horse in the race as a backup in case you guys skewer the front runner. And so
Wow. Right. And that's exactly right. They have Chuck and Kelly, and Chuck is there. He's a straw man. Chuck is a straw man. He's there to seem like there's a choice between these two candidates, and that there's, you have an actual choice. It's not just Kelly Ayotte running by herself, and then they would have to, exclude the other four of us. If Chuck wasn't running, was Kelly just going to run unopposed, make it look like she's running unopposed? They had to have a puppet like Chuck, a spineless coward that guy is.
Ed, you want to go?
Then he wants to use my platform in my work with the YDC stuff and exposing that for years now. And I was in YDC.
I've heard him.
He puts out an official statement calling out Kelly Ayotte complicit, which was the name of our events. Ayotte was complicit once we knew she was running and everything like that. But so he steals all my stuff and then uses it to attack her, and that's when she called me a conspiracy theorist. And there's no theory about it. This is all fact that she was working. She was AG at the time while a lot of the abuse happened before her and after her, but it happened all throughout her entire term. And there was the Disability Rights Center reports that came out on 2008. She was there to 2009. In 2008 and 2009, these two different reports about the abuse came out, and that means they were sending FOIAs and investigating, and there was reports already there prior to. They didn't just,
Can we show that video so people get a
Ed wanted to add something before the video.
Yeah, my battery's almost dead, but I ran, so I've campaigned against Chuck and against Ayotte, so I'm familiar with both of them. And for what it's worth, what the establishment RNC is saying, Chuck Morse is the top RNC guy. So in other states, he'd be called a lieutenant governor. Just so you guys, the other podcasters, know that. And what they've been saying, the old timers have been saying this time, it's Chuck's turn. Kind of like Hillary Clinton, it's Chuck's turn this time. That's what his people are saying. So I just wanted to add that before my battery dies out, and you'll love this video. Thanks guys.
Thanks for joining,
Thank you
Ed.
for coming, Ed. We appreciate your effort tonight. Have a good night, Ed.
You too, brothers.
God
Thank
bless.
you, all podcasters.
Thank you, Ed. John Kuiper had to leave too. He had to put his kids to bed, and then
Thanks, John, for showing up.
Then Karen had another thing to go to. So I'm gonna run this video here right now.
You know what, Mark?
Yeah.
I just want to say ooh about the projection of a conspiracy theorist. That tells me all I need to know about that individual, and I take that as a compliment. Thank you very much. Proud of it.
Yeah. Oh, of course.
And you used to be one, Frank. Now you're just right.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Here we go.
Roll that footage.
Let's roll it. Here we go. Play.
No, we're not. This is private property, and this is invitation only. Invitation only? Yeah, that's fine. I was just curious. We showed up to find out. We were curious, and somebody said it was a percentage threshold. You don't do that anymore? I don't know. It's a private event with a private organization. And who's running it? New Hampshire Journal. New Hampshire Journal. All right. And so, no primary candidates other than Ayotte and Morse. That's up to them, and that's from what I understand. Yes. That's up to New Hampshire Journal. Yeah. Is somebody from New Hampshire Journal here? Not out here. Could you ask if they would come out and talk to us? Not right now because I'm out here. Could you go in? No. Why not? Could somebody go in and check? No.
No. Well, that wasn't all of what I thought we were going to see.
Where did you get that? Yeah.
I just sent it to him. Was what the link you sent me.
Is that the one I sent you? Yeah. Can you go on YouTube and watch my YouTube?
I mean, while we're running the show, it's good.
Well, it's right there on my YouTube. The full one.
Can you link to YouTube, Mark? Because I guess the full one's posted there.
I don't know if that wasn't it.
Apparently, that wasn't a full-length version. I thought it was. Or, I mean, just play it on your phone and hold it up
Frank,
in front of you.
No, Frank, what's your YouTube?
Absolute Defiance. It should be the first video on the list there. It's the full. It is the full one. Yeah.
Gotcha. Absolute.
Sorry about the technical difficulty.
How are you being absolutely defiant on a regimented regime platform such as YouTube?
So
wait, here we go.
Watch my YouTube.
Here we go, guys.
Oh, here we go. I'll tell you after.
Yeah, that's fine. I was just curious. We showed up to find out. We were curious, and somebody said it was a percentage threshold. You don't do that anymore? I don't know. It's a private organization. And who's running it? New Hampshire Journal. New Hampshire Journal. All right. And so, no primary candidates other than Ayotte and Morse. That's up to them, and that's from what I understand. Yes. That's up to New Hampshire Journal. Yeah. Is somebody from New Hampshire Journal here? Not out here. Could you ask if they would come out and talk to us? Not right now because I'm out here. Could you go in? No. Why not? Could somebody go check?
What?
Fair question though. It seems like they're pre-selected.
Wow.
Yeah.
Looking good, Sean.
Sure can.
Yeah, sometimes.
So
it makes a pre-selected environment where if you're going to have a debate and you want to learn who's the best candidate, it shouldn't be determined by who you pick to have on the debate. And so it's very shady and untransparent to the rest of the world for the state's voters.
that they would rig this
Very
thing.
unfair to pre-select your candidates and not give the opportunities to the other potentials, especially when there's 30% of the vote that they're ignoring.
A reason.
Tell 'em.
For
Yeah.
other, and we're the other.
I'll pass that on. I appreciate that.
Could you ask one of them if they could come out and talk to us and try to maybe get us on tonight? I think it would make for a much better discussion and debate.
And you know Frank? Yes. Okay. And so that's my phone number. And if there's anything that does come up that where I do or he does figure it out,
Right here, you can hear me.
I mean, not trying to be hostile here. Well, this is just for
Let people know. This is transparency.
Invite me to anything.
because what's happening is Chuck goes to places and says, "Oh look, I'm the only one." That's a statement that he's been saying at different ones, column rallies, with gatherings, things that he does. He says, "I'm the only one." Well, we're here. We didn't get invited. We just want to make sure people know we're not excluded. So that was my main reason. people don't think that I didn't think.
Where's Barry? Yeah.
He just loved to be doing anything else.
Run around with an open can soda in your back pocket.
Yeah, this guy, we have a history. He's been in a video of mine before when we shut down the executive council meeting that was there.
Thank you, Frank.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's a little ridiculous. Could you try to see if
It's
somebody from New Hampshire Journal is available?
he just
Hi, how's
ran
it
off.
going?
The whole crowd's
Yeah, to
going.
talk to us. We're trying to get into the debate. We're on the ballot. Both of us.
Oh, okay. Well, I gotta be on my way. Oh, you're Frank.
Yes, of course.
Okay.
Yeah. How's it going?
I was there. I was there.
You were
at
there?
that meeting.
I would normally.
I had to leave.
Which one? The New Hampshire 9 one?
The 9.
Yep, the 9
I
arrests.
couldn't watch it.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Did you see what they did to those women and children? And I mean, for saying amen allegedly,
Uttering.
amen.
Yeah, it was a convenient way to get rid of a thorn in his side.
That's right. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you, sir. I appreciate the time.
Is there any way?
No, but I'm not going to go in there now because there's one guy and he's about to ask questions. Mr. Hager.
We couldn't do
He
it
might be
now
able to
while
get
it's
somebody
going
for us.
on, so we could let you in to get you in on it.
Sir, Chris, would you be able to see if somebody from New Hampshire Journal would come out and talk to us?
They're busy getting ready for the debate.
Yeah, we're trying to get in there. We're on the ballot.
Oh,
Me and
This is
Sean.
the chairman of the GOP.
This is a
I
comedy
know, we know it's a
show.
private debate, but
we had to get an invite to come. Right. So,
So-
it makes you wonder.
He's literally the string
They
between the corruption and the
only
candidate.
invite these two. If it's the first debate of the year, why wouldn't you have more than 2 candidates? Yeah. Well.
Wow.
The beauty of private enterprise in America. Private people can decide what they want to do.
Wow, buddy. What's your
Wow.
name, buddy?
Yeah.
right, it's also election interference.
It's selecting candidates.
What do you think
Yeah.
about that? What do you think about leaving us out of the polls and all that? All the candidates that are on the ballot.
So, do you want the government to dictate, or do you want the private guys to determine? The private guys determine, they determine. It's up
They
to
don't
them.
get to determine the elections. You think private people should be able to pay to buy these elections?
No, I didn't say that.
That's what it sounds
And
like.
what you're talking about is maybe a good reason you're not in there.
Oh, because I'm going to bring up real issues
That's not a real issue.
that people are bought and paid for
That's not
with strings attached. That is a real issue. You know it
Yes.
is. Give me a break, Chris. You're telling me there's no corruption in government?
I didn't say that.
Okay.
I didn't say that.
Okay. So are there no bought and paid for candidates?
You know, you're worse than most of the. You're worse than every reporter I talk to.
Oh, yeah.
They give me real questions.
This is so.
No, you're giving me a question that has an answer that you want to lead to. You're not saying, "Hey,
I have a good
I
question.
have a." Yeah.
Where's the next thing that the New Hampshire GOP is going to have candidates where all the candidates could go?
No, we don't host debates.
Why not?
Maybe you should,
We might, maybe we should. That's
because I notice when I host debates,
Too late.
your candidates don't come.
No, but that's a good question.
Says we can do it short notice.
Why don't we consider that for the vote? That's a good. That is a great question.
I've been mentioning it on Twitter.
Wow.
Question, except nobody ever answers.
It wouldn't take long, but then we then we have to look at what we did in the primary. We worked with like CNN. You know, there was no debates then because Trump didn't debate.
Right. Well, he's the only one that fit the mold, is what they said.
He was the guy. He was
criteria.
he was at the guy at the top of the table.
Right.
And so if he wasn't there, then they just say, "Hey, these are not going to be interesting debates. Nobody's going to watch." We considered doing debates. We looked at it, and then we looked back in history. And when counties had run something that looked like a formal debate, it ended up costing the party a lot of money because candidates.
We did it for free. You didn't show up.
Didn't make.
So this is so what he's talking about right here. This is
Well,
what
that's
Karen
why.
Testament.
And
Karen
the
Testament's
counties-
lawsuit.
Maybe they should have been included.
well, but the counties won the court case.
Well, she says she can use this for evidence and actually win the cases now.
So it discourages
Right.
the party from doing debates because we can be sued. These guys have a hard time being sued.
Well, there's a precedence now. So
These guys
from that
have a
case
hard-
sets a
Oh
precedent.
my God.
So there should be no issue with setting
It
up a
should be,
debate.
But we have 3 lawsuits
that the party has been paying for, two out of the three have been appealed. We won one appeal, and there were additional junctions. And so people can use the system to bleed you for a lot of money.
Oh, yeah,
And so
for
that's
sure.
one of the considerations that we looked at in hosting debate. We go, okay, how do we set a criteria?
Well,
How do we, and
what if we went at it through my LLC that I made for my campaign? And it's the only liable thing is limited liability.
Yeah, we can use our campaigns.
no, but I mean, the party,
Because I
during a debate, we open ourselves up to being sued. And Andy Martin, for example, has sued multiple times, cost tens of thousands of dollars to the party. I need to win elections instead of paying lawsuits.
What if we do a private debate and we invite the GOP to participate and get all the
you
other
could.
candidates?
Yeah, you could.
Well, I've done that, and they don't come.
But if you guys were there and we're saying, yeah, let's hear all the candidates, maybe even have preset questions.
I wasn't,
You know?
yeah, I wasn't invited to this
You
one
know, I show no bias. You come on
at
in,
all.
you answer
And this
questions, right?
afternoon, I said, hey, I'd like to.
I'd rather hear all
And then they said, okay, yeah, you can come, we'll put you on the list. So we weren't even invited. I wasn't even invited to this debate.
Right. I mean,
I was giving you a hard time earlier, but
You don't like that? He's not invited to the debate, but he's there.
it's not just me either. It's a lot of these other candidates.
It's a legitimate concern. And,
Because she's trying to sell herself.
I was harassing you a little bit
You don't
earlier.
like that?
Friendly harassment. But
Changed
It's
his
fine.
tune
I
up.
have thick skin. We know each other.
no, not only thick skin, you took it really well, man.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
But
Yeah.
I'm just saying to let
Yeah,
everybody
so
get their piece,
we looked at
brings more.
we really looked hard at. I wanted to do a debate
the dumb question
for
is the one that
Congress,
isn't asked.
both CD1, CD2,
So
and governor.
if nothing is
And we looked at it,
brought
we
up,
looked at the history of the party
Well,
doing debates
if
and the
something
lawsuits.
happens while you
And we
well,
said,
say you're in the government,
puts us too much at risk.
Can we have this, like the state do it with a debate with the Democrats and the Republicans?
You know what I can do? I'll talk to Neil, because Neil, in the presidential, they did multiple debates, and they said, hey, all the big guys are going here, but we'll do other debates, and we'll give that visibility, and we'll run it. And I saw some of those. They had everybody. They invited everybody who's on the ballot.
How about inviting everybody to speak in Reps Hall, and people can answer questions as well. Each candidate gets a certain amount of time, and people can come up and ask questions.
Let me ponder on that just a little bit.
What's frivolous to me may not
Talk to
be-
maybe David or something.
I'll talk to Neil
If you go
first.
there for election
State
fraud
House,
and they
maybe.
throw it out because they
But,
say
you
they
know,
claim that
if
it
people wanna
affects
get up
every
there and
single
talk,
citizen, and so
and
it has
people
no
want to vote
stand,
for
no
you,
stand,
great.
have to put it on
If
the
they don't,
ballot.
that's okay too.
Okay,
Right,
so we're
sure.
gonna correct
Just
election fraud
let
on the
everybody see
ballot.
everybody.
Yeah.
I don't have a disagreement with that at all.
And then people can't say, "Hey, I was left out. I wasn't given a chance."
Yeah, let the marketplace of ideas have its thing. But
That's
yeah,
what I'm
this one,
talking
I got invited
held the public
this
hearing
afternoon.
on Halloween.
So
Well,
you can
yeah,
let
if you can drop some bugs in some ears,
I will.
I'd appreciate
I
it.
will, and you know, it can be a friendly. Hey, come on in.
Yeah, yeah.
Right? Get it.
You'll shake one of
Like, if I
the.
did a debate, I would never have a criteria.
trial period.
Because one of them, the one that really we looked at hard, was
And
the
I hear
criteria
you.
says, if you don't win, are you going to support the eventual nominee?
Oh, right, right.
And that's not my style. My style is not. I don't put conditions on you. I
Right.
tell you, you're for governor, you want to come talk, come and talk.
So
That there would be no conditions. So we looked at that. But you have a valid point. I will give you that.
Appreciate it.
You got a valid point.
he's like
Thank you.
best competition.
Yeah, Sean, good to see you.
He's been tipping me off to so many of these things.
Then we
Thank
could
you so
look
much.
at the face.
I appreciate
Something
it.
about guys
Take care,
who look at
Chris.
the-
Frankie.
Thank you.
Bob.
What's your name?
Bob McCarthy.
Oh, yeah, Bob.
This is Frankie now.
Oh, we know each other.
Born
I'd
around
also like to say that Chris Ager, I went up to him, I was the first person to really go up to him, say they want to run this campaign. He said, no,
That's why
we
I
won't,
recognize
we
you.
won't
See
support you at all. We
All
haven't
right,
said
so
There we are,
anything.
standing on the street all
There
by
we are.
ourselves.
I'm glad you guys
No, I appreciate you talking to us. Thank you so
I like
much.
Chuck Stein. I mean, I'll tip the try.
I actually like Chris Ager.
Yeah, my wife's over there. I gotta go.
Have a good night.
So you want to promote?
He's learning how to do
So,
it. He's
there it is,
pulling
folks.
money, but
Showed up to try to see if we could get into this debate, and it's just Kelly Ayotte and Chuck Morris allowed. It was nice to talk to Chris Ager, and hopefully we can get full debates with all the candidates that are on the ballot in the near future. Stay tuned.
my record on education freedom. First of all, Chuck Morris voted against education freedom accounts in 2004. He joined with the Democrats to do that.
Should we keep going
could have
with
had
this?
it in place for the last
Yeah, so
16
this is
years.
where
It's fine to do it at that time.
I put this
But
for full
also, on
context.
that
They're
same
talking
bill that
about
he's
speech
citing,
freedom
I voted
accounts.
for an
She
amendment
calls
by
him
Senator
spineless.
Tim Scott
He gets
that was a
one more,
better
it gets
amendment
back
that
to him,
allowed Title
and he's
I
like,
funding to follow
let's
the
change
child
subjects. And
and
he calls
allowed
her all
that
in the
funding to be
YDC thing.
used
All right,
by
let's
private
listen to him.
schools or whatever venue is best for that child. So I just want to make sure that people understand that. There was the same bill and there was just a better amendment by Tim Scott, which I was proud to support, and it supports education choice.
You have 30 seconds.
Yeah, let's be clear. She voted against education choice for low-income families. She can't deny that. I made sure in 2021 that we passed it. We passed it in that budget in 2021. We created education freedom accounts in New Hampshire. I'm going to work as governor to make sure every child gets to take advantage of education freedom accounts.
I guess I'm wondering why he didn't get it done in 2004 when he joined with Democrats
Smart
to
people
kill it.
don't time.
So we would have had that in place here in New Hampshire. But listen, I'm married to a teacher who teaches math at the Catholic school. I've served on our school board. I've seen education freedom accounts in operation and how important they are for parents in New Hampshire, and I will fight for them.
One last.
Well, let me be clear, and I'll switch the subject. She was the chief law enforcement person in our state when these kids were being raped and brutalized in the Sununu Center in 2005, 6, 7. That's when she was there. She was the chief law enforcement officer. So if she wants to talk about failures of what she hasn't accomplished, let's talk about that.
Hey, Chuck's good for something.
This is what's so sad about Chuck Morris in this campaign, that he'll say or do anything. We were actually at a forum on June 21st in Chester when Frank Staples raised this conspiracy theory, and Chuck answered it himself and said,
Maybe to Q&A, and we're going to basically allow our two leaders to figure out who might want to answer the question first or second or whatever. Are there any questions from the audience? Does anyone have a, yes, sir. Come on up. Introduce yourself and say your name and then whatever question you have.
Oh, hang on your hat, folks.
Republican candidate for governor. And this question is for either candidate. And I know that Kelly Ayotte says she's the greatest threat to the state, and she may be. She's about to bankrupt this state if she doesn't address the YDC situation and the 2,000 children who were abused, and she was tasked to protect under RSA 7.6 and 7.11. Yeah, so what is she going to do, and what is Chuck going to do to address the inevitable bankruptcy of this state from the YDC sex scandal? Frank Staples.
Nice beards, Frank.
Let me tell you what leadership's all about, and I'm proud of my leadership in the New Hampshire Senate. We were dead broke several times under the Democrats. The Shaheen administration, we were broke after that. Craig Benson worked with us so that we built up a pot so we had money. Then the Democrats took over, and in 2011, we were $800 million in the hole, 100 new taxes and fees. The Republicans took over at that point in time, and they built a pot that they made sure that we were a prosperous state. And as we started to take on the challenges of the Sununu Center, let me tell you what we did. We actually went in and not only kept the money in that account, we assigned $100 million, and the legislature just went back and assigned another $60 million to make sure we can pay our bills as we go through this. This was a very difficult time period for the state of New Hampshire. Understand that when this was happening, none of us knew. And I certainly believe that now that we know we have to make changes.
It's funny when you put that next to her, as he said that, how she looked.
That I think will work to make sure we take care of our children.
There's no doubt that, thank you, Chuck. There's no doubt that the most important thing is taking care of our children. And what happened at YDC, completely unacceptable. And I think many of you know me. I was a murder prosecutor. I put bad people away. I spent a lot of time doing that. I sat with victims of crime of every form. And so nothing is more important to me than holding people accountable who have committed crimes. And so unfortunately, we didn't know what was happening there, but we now do know. And so we're going to rectify the situation and make sure it never happens again. And by the way, it goes beyond YDC. If you looked at what has happened at TCYF and some of those cases where children have died and they should have never died because unfortunately things fell through the cracks. Well, we can never let that happen with children when an issue is at stake. You know, you think about those little girls who were killed in
So this is before she announced she was running, right?
Yes, fiscally responsible in how we
No,
do things, but
this was a
accountability is going
campaign
to be
event.
a mark,
It's
certainly, of
about 2
what I
weeks
brought
ago.
to the table
No, this
when
was
I personally prosecuted cases,
June
putting
21st.
the person who killed a police officer in the line of duty. I personally prosecuted that case.
But yes,
myself.
she's just like
And if I find
saying
out
random stuff. She doesn't address anything. And why wouldn't she call it a conspiracy theory right there?
And he softballed her 2 weeks ago on that.
And so, what
when
you
Frank
don't?
Staples raised this
Wait, let me
conspiracy
stop
theory,
this one
and Chuck
second.
answered it
Yeah,
himself.
it's over
and said,
now. But
it is
so.
Okay.
So what happened is at that Chester event, they allowed the questions. I asked that one question. They had another question from another guy, and then it was a long question. And when they were done, I was looking to see if anybody else had any questions. Didn't look like anybody stepped up, so I start walking back over there, and that GOP guy is Jess Edwards, and he sees me coming, and he's like, "Oh, no more questions. That's it. No more questions." And then the guy in the wheelchair there was like, "Oh, wait, I had a question. And I was already walking away. And so Jess saw me walking away, and he's like, "Oh, okay. You'll be the last question." And so, yeah, that was a Chester event where I called her out. Now she's calling that a conspiracy theory. And you saw Chuck call her out for the same exact thing during the debate now. And he put out a public statement about it, calling her complicit as well prior to that.
Do you see though what I'm saying about if that was 2 weeks ago, that video right there? Why would he have softballed the whole YDC thing at her? Because she looked a little uncomfortable, but if it were you or if it were any of the three of you, she would have been much more uncomfortable.
I would trust nobody else with the pleasure. So you saw what he did. So this was June 21st, that Chester event, when I raised that question. And I had already been talking to Chuck Morse's team and supporters about me running. They're trying to get me to drop out and endorse him. And I told them, so he actually, some of his team came to some of our rallies at the State House for the YDC thing. He was invited to many of them, and he was invited to speak, but he never showed up. And so I told them that he needs to make this part of his campaign, and he needs to get on it now, get ahead of it. Otherwise, he's going to lose supporters because of me. And so I told them exactly what was going to happen. And I also told everybody that he's gonna endorse Ayotte after the primary, after he loses. He already has. And he already has admitted to that.
What he's done is I was watching him on a radio show on Thursday before last, or maybe on a Thursday. Anyways, and so they come to the question, they're kind of just talking back and forth. They called it a debate, but they're just chatting back and forth. The guy hosting the show just asked Chuck, he's like, "So if she wins the primary, are you going to back her?" And Chuck didn't hesitate. He just says, "Yeah." That was it. And so, a vote for Chuck's a vote for Kelly.
Yep. Yeah, a vote for Chuck is a vote for Kelly.
You know what? They both look good in a pantsuit, though. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, and then to answer the question, how's my YouTube up? I've had a couple videos taken down. I got one strike, I think. And but I don't do this type of content. I do like real documenting of events and in court. A lot of my stuff is me in court and in protests.
I got arrested at the federal court in the lobby for recording to challenge their practice of not allowing us to record in federal court. And that's a big thing on my channel is the federal court stuff, and then the COVID-19 protesting and organizing protests out in front of the governor's house, and people got arrested there. He's now being sued over it. Then there's the New Hampshire 9, where 9 of us were arrested. You saw that lady recognize me. Oh, you're Frank from the New Hampshire 9. I said, yep. And so that case, I had a 5-day, 13-hour pro se trial, and I was, found not guilty ultimately, and of the initial arrest for allegedly saying amen with Therese Grinnell. And, they dropped all the charges after I successfully defended myself. And
I don't
we're
think
suing,
I don't think our
Sununu for that too.
I don't think our guest hosts all know that story, and it's pretty interesting to me because it connects back into some of my research, which is and I won't take us off on that puzzle, but William Penn wrote a book called No Cross, No Crown because he preached out in the streets on purpose to get purposefully arrested. So it's a pretty cool story.
Wow.
Can you tell James, Bree, and Susie?
So yeah, I come up with these strategies. You guys can go and check my playlist. You'll see the right to record in federal court or federal court right to record playlist. Watch that. So we were found guilty of that, and we have an appeal right now. We're waiting to get the brief from the federal government. But what was I going to say? I'm having a brain fart here.
I was asking you.
So during my federal court trial, when I was representing myself, I got the judge, because they don't let you bring a phone in there. They don't let you bring anything in, right? That's how they prohibit you. And I said I needed it for my defense because I had stuff on it. And they let me bring it up. And they said, you can't record. And so you'll see my 4-stage plan, my 4th stage part of the plan was me recording during my trial. And so I did. I started recording during the trial, and then the witness in the case, DHS officer Plant, comes over, rips the phone out of my hand, steals my phone, says they're going to give it back to me outside, and ultimately he's kept it. I have no documentation of what happened, but the charges as well. We had subsequent charges because we kept recording in the lobby and recording in the lobby and recording in the lobby. So I had 3 more disorderly conducts on top of the original charge, and the feds dropped those charges now that we have our appeal going. So
wow,
it's interesting. Yeah.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Frank, can I ask you why, because Sean said this, why do you think that Chuck would bring up that during a debate with Kelly?
I think because he knows it's his only chance, and he really is trying to win. He doesn't even know that he's a straw man. Okay, he's controlled opposition. He's got third parties getting him to go out and do this, but he really wants to run, and he thought Sununu was going to endorse him. He's been pandering for Sununu to endorse him, and for Trump, he's been hanging out with all the MAGA people, trying to get Trump to endorse him, because that's his only shot, and it's not going to happen. It would have already happened. And so he is running a fool's errand, trying to win this thing, and the candidate's already been selected. So he needs to jump on this formal complaint against AOT and call her out on this as well. So he's already stolen stuff about federal taxes from my plan as well, and spoken about, stuff that's out of my plan. So I'm a threat to him. I'm getting I've had people take his signs down and put mine up. And so once they hear I'm running, and once they talk to me and see my policies, they come right over.
Frank,
I do have a lot of support.
You are spot on him, and I could tell you it because I see it happening in other states. In my state, they put forth during the midterms someone to run as a straw man, so that way he agreed to do it in order. Guess what they did? They made the person, and I'm not going to call him out on this show because it's not about New Jersey, but they made him one of the electors for the state of New Jersey. That was his payoff for it. And he's gonna become something big, but he knows that I know something about him. Anyway.
So that's the other thing. I think that Chuck Morse, he was hoping for like some sort of appointment, and that's the only reason why he would endorse Kelly Ayotte is because he's trying to play nice and he's going to want to get something. If he can't be governor, he can't be anything. He's going to be nothing. So he's going to want to be the commissioner of whatever. Who knows?
And that's why that was a softball. It was a softball.
I honestly don't know why he called her out and he decided. It seems strange for him, and he's spineless the way he's going about it.
I just have some simple logic about the guys thinking about why he would run here. I know I spoke to him first, and he just didn't realize who I was, and he told me that if he didn't win, he'd go down to Florida. Okay, so that's your plan. But you got this guy essentially in life where he is. He's ready to retire. Is my point. Nothing about anything else there. Just the fact he's ready to retire. So he can make a bad move and live on the rest of his life. That's not what I'm getting at either. But what I would like to say is because he has so much already set, he's kind of like ready to be on a fixed income, right? Why would you claim that you spend all this money of your money? He claimed, this is his thing. He's not getting back. He says his hands are clean. Why would you spend all this money just before retirement? How would your wife go along with that? What would it do to your children? I'm like, what are the odds you're going to get elected? He considers himself an underdog, and really he is. And he also says that if you watch that whole debate that we were just using their clips from, he says that he supports the underdog. That's why he supported Donald Trump. So he called Donald Trump an underdog. But at the same time, I'm like, who here is an underdog? Like, raise your hand, right? Like, all three of us are underdogs. So I'd like to tell Chuck Morse, thanks for all the help. I guess you think you give us underdogs. And that's my funny little it's not, really, the logic is, why is he going to throw away all this money at a chance he most likely will lose just to earn $144,000 for 2 years? I don't think it makes sense. It's corruption, and it's oozing out of him. Just the signs are there. I can't trust it. I have no way to prove it other than I have the feeling. It's my gut, and so I'm not going to. It's almost satire me saying it, but listen to why I'm saying it, right? So with that being said, I'll let you see everything else him and Kelly say bad about each other until the election. But I'm glad you got to hear from us tonight. And I don't want to hog the mic. I like most of the people on Chosen Kingdom already know who I am. So I'd like to share with these guys just so you know what they're about.
Why don't absolutely, and Bobby, you go, because I think we've heard the least from you, and then maybe the three of you can wrap it up together for the night. And I don't think the four of us have much more to say on it, and you guys have done a really great job.
Way to expose the corruption. This is so crucial.
Yeah, you're amazing. The
We're
three of you.
also doing a show. We're planning on doing a show that will be after the primary election, no matter what the results are. And unfortunately, we can't actually prepare the show until within 24 hours of having it. So everything that was done here tonight, understand Mark did this in 24 hours or less. So that's when you'll know what the link is. Till then, just know it's coming. Look for Roundtable on Chosen Kingdom.
And Bobby,
All right.
you go. You're up, Dave.
I've been sitting on a conga drum the whole time, so I'm ready to get out of here a little bit. But here's how you can find me and find my work, because I have some pretty interesting work going on.
This place is filled with it.
Yeah, it's right on my website. It is 603og.com. I want you to look at all my videos. I get some pretty interesting videos that they're kind of artsy, I'd say, and they tap into all types of ideas and history and myself as well.
It's 603. Bobby, it's 603og.com, right?
But OG is the letter O. 603 OG.
Yep, you got it. 603 OG.
Perfect. I got it on the screen right there. You see
Actually,
it?
Sean sent you a picture of my card. Could you put that up?
The one that looks like an American flag with yellow lettering on the red line.
Okay. Yep. Hold on. All right. Keep going.
I just want to work with everybody, get everybody together and point it in the right direction. I also want to duplicate this for other states because we did write the Constitution. We are number one for a reason, and we are number 9. And the number 9 is the most powerful number. There's so many signs of the number 9 in nature. It's wild. It doesn't just happen for no reason. So being number 9 and number 1 at the same time, with Mount Washington peaking at almost 7,000 feet of solid granite and quartz, this state is here with a presidential mountain range that puts a lot of hiking to shame all around our country. That being said, some of the most rowdy people come from these lands of New Hampshire, and we are some of them sitting at the table. And I'd like to say thank you for everybody listening and tuning into what we got going on tonight, and appreciate these guys right here, Frank and Sean, and I'm passing the mic.
So as we talk about Dan Richards' case that we were at where Frank got kicked out, if you want a copy of that video, the only person that was allowed to record it has the email. You have to email them, request it. They haven't given me one. I don't know who they even have given any to. I don't know, but her name is Kelly Chow, and so Chow Kelly. I'd like to give her a shout out because she's a realtor and you can buy stuff from her, but I mean she's not treating me good, so I'm conflicted. But anyway, so CHAUKELLEY@gmail.com. Again, CHAUKELLEY@gmail.com.
Chow Kelly's a trooper.
Now she has a good reputation, and I don't want to soil it on her, but she's probably busy trying to get this to a lot of people.
And guys, Frank, Bobby, I want us to all, really thank and honor Unmuzzled Chat and Beyond the Box. They really came out for us tonight. Bree, Susie, James, we really thank you guys for joining us. I know you didn't get to do a whole lot tonight because I wanted to let the candidates really speak for themselves. But I just want everybody to know, I want to thank, all the viewers tonight. I just checked earlier, and between all of us, we had 46 people going at once about a half an hour ago. So it's an awesome thing that between everybody, we can have a larger live audience. And that's really what the Magi Party was about. It was about bringing together people who don't have a huge footprint to come together with the true people who are here saving America. And if everybody goes and they want to go look back at my research, and everybody should go look at every one of these channels that we have here today. But if you go back and look at my research and you go to the Sons of Liberty, you find out that this was amazing people like all you guys, all of you, men and ladies, all doing something in order to make a change in our society. I mean, this is what it's going to take.
Yes.
And so I thank you all for coming and give you the floor for a moment before we say goodnight.
Mark,
Anyone?
you the man. We appreciate you. You obviously orchestrated things. You're doing great. I even call upon my listeners to support your podcast. We'll be sure to add it in the comment section of this episode. But just we need more people to show up, be excited to seize this opportunity in time, and just all do our part. I mean, you choose your poison. You can see the tyranny all around us, and we got to rule it out.
Oh, really?
Bree, Susie, anything to close us out?
It's Susie, you had something you want to say?
I was wanting to say something a while ago, but it was kind of busy. But the only thing I had to say really was something spiritual, and it was a scripture So let me pull it up here because it's been a while.
Oh,
Hold
and
on a second.
Serenity says prayers to all. Enjoyed the chat.
So I was looking at, this is a spiritual problem. And the scripture I had was now, and this is an interesting part. King James was a politician, basically. He
He's a
wrote the
Freemason
Bible
as well.
400 years ago. Right. And also, you know, he was homosexual, and he wrote a book called Demonology, and he killed like 80,000 people, you know, when he took over England. So there's a whole bunch of history on James Stewart. But the point is that when he rewrote this Bible, his version of it, he wrote this scripture, and the scripture is, "For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of darkness of this world, and against spiritual wickednesses in high places." Now, my point is this, that he changed a few words in here from the Geneva Bible, and I'm going to read it to you from the Geneva Bible. Okay. And what it says in that version is, "For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities and against powers and against the worldly governors."
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So these are not people in high places, as he kind of put it, because he was in a high place and he did kill a lot of people in the name of his leadership. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how many people that, you know, immigrated over here to the United States, but I had a great grandfather named John North, who was married to the Byrd family. Okay. The Byrds, you know, and so John North had to have a document signed by King James just to be able to come over here at that time in the 1600s. But this scripture does say that we wrestle against worldly governors and the princes of darkness of this world, and against spiritual wickednesses that are in high places. So just that one word you leave out, you're talking about humans that are governing over other people. This is what we're fighting up against. And if the world doesn't know but should know, there's a cult, and it's a Luciferian cult, and it goes all the way back to the Norse, which was Loki, Lucifer.
Good work, lady.
Same system. Same system. And so from that system, that Luciferian system, founded the religions, founded the government, founded the control. So this is what we're fighting against.
Yeah.
So that's what I had to say.
Yep.
And
so
I'm gonna say this.
Bobby.
Here comes
So I
Breathe.
can put out a 4-part documentary with a bunch of King James and a bunch of this, that, and the other stuff, and it correlates everything together. It's on my website. It's titled Enema Mundi, Laniakia in the USA. And it throws everything together in a way that really hasn't been put out yet. And that's kind of expertise I got, figuring out things like that. Because the true governing is spirituality.
Bobby, can you text that over to me on his phone, and I'll put that up, because I want to take a look at that too, and I want all the viewers to be able to take a look at that, because
definitely.
all of our viewers are interested in that topic, because what Susie just put forth there is on the money.
And what I'm going to say right here is, there is nobody that has said this any better but George Carlin. It is a big club, and we ain't in it.
Amen. Don't want to be in that club.
I'm out.
I don't know. I thank you guys, though, for having us, and I thank you for what you're doing.
Thank you, everybody.
You're doing the job, the footwork, and it needs to be appreciated. So
I appreciate all you helping get this word out. Like, this is not unique stuff to New Hampshire. And that's, you know, my YouTube, I wasn't planning on having that part of this discussion, but it's not monetized. And I do teach a lot of stuff and give a lot of information and strategies and tactics on how to nullify unconstitutional laws. how to push back against the tyranny. So if you can check it out, that'd be great. Shoot me questions and stuff like that. That'd be fine as well. If you need any help with anything, feel free to shoot me an email, and I'll do like a free consultation and legal advice. I have no problem helping out with stuff like that.
Yeah, nice work on that piece of work that you put together, Sue, with the lawsuit. Sounds really solid. So I want everybody to go.
The piece of work that I've worked on is what we've worked on with you, Magi. It stands for Make America Jesus Included. If you want to check it out online, you go to MAJIPARTY.org or .com. Either one works. And you can check out the candidates that have been endorsed all around the country. Whoever fits the mold, no corruption, and no strings. It's you got to understand the Bible enough so you can interpret the Constitution in the way that it was intended by the people who wrote it, the God-fearing men who wrote it. And it's kind of a simple mold, but it's hard to find people that fit that. And so I just wanted to promote that while we were trying to move this information around. But here on to Bob, you can tell you what I'm about to send you.
Mark, I just sent you over a playlist with all 4 videos.
Great.
And
on text sent me. I also wanted to share this. This is Beyond the Box on YouTube.
Yeah, I sent it to Sean. He's going to send it to you. Hey, Mark. Yeah. Thank you for doing all this too, guys. Good job.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
Oh, could I speak to that a little bit? All right. So this is one thing that some of the people who have been watching some of your shows, you adhere to the guests. You're very unbiased, and you try to make them as comfortable as possible. And I think some people think you come off is off because maybe a guest that you've had come on the show might have been not their particular mold person, should be in control of things, but you accommodate making them comfortable. And I think that kind of tarnishes your reputation because people don't know you well enough to understand what a brilliant man you are to do with this. I mean, in this environment, you pick this up incredibly well in every other one I've seen you operate in. So thank you for not changing, thank you for changing for the people in your programs to make them comfortable and things work. And thank you for taking the hit to your persona. I know you're a solid man and you got thick skin. You deserve a compliment for allowing that to be.
25 years. Thank you. 25 years on Wall Street. I could take it all. I'm good. I've been beaten up on this.
I bet. Yeah, I appreciate the opportunity. Thank you again.
Thank you, Frank.
Have you got that information from the email that I sent you there for Bobby? Can you just hit that before we shut this thing down?
Oh, I'd love to. Thank you.
I'd like people to be able to see that.
Oh, that was his card. I put that up already.
I got one in an email to you. It's just subject is Bobby. And
that's that playlist I just sent to Sean.
Oh, the YouTube.
Yes.
Perfect.
Yes, sir.
Hold on.
Yeah, perfect.
Copy link, and then I'm going to.
Perfecto. Do something that somebody looks at this perfect.
All right. Let me just grab that. I'm going to share this tab instead. You guys see this now? Oh, no, you don't. I have to go like this. There you go. All right. There you go, Bobby. So this is the Epiphany Bridge, Golden Timeline, New Hampshire.
Fucking right.
Am I in the right spot?
Yes, sir.
And tell us about it. What do you do here?
I already told you about it. So the playlist with all 4 videos.
And there's your McGlory for New Hampshire governor. So everybody come check him out there.
So yeah, it's late. It's always an early rise. This is I got to be rested for this holiday tomorrow. Get your barbecue on. I love you, New Hampshire. I love you, America.
Go to Milford.
And thank you, everybody, for helping get this message out.
Yeah, appreciate what everyone does here. God bless y'all. God bless America.
God bless. We're
Stay
looking at
tuned,
one of
look
the
around circles.
we're looking at one of the next governors. Can you believe it, folks?
Yeah.
Here we go.
Team.
Gosh,
effort,
I hope
team
you're right,
effort,
Mark.
Team effort.
Well,
Let's
one more
go.
thing. Magi candidates have never lost election yet to this point, have they?
Never,
Is there
never
one?
yet.
We haven't
Never
lost.
yet. We're
Josh, we got to keep that going.
we're
All
at
right.
100% so far. So let's go. Have a great night, guys.
All right, take care.
See
Good
ya.
night, Mark.
Good night, guys.
Good night.
Au revoir.
I'm gonna just hit this